We back, we back, we back. Hit that like button, y'all. Like, it's crazy, y'all. In 2025, a large part of society is now starting to see that there is no such thing as freedom of speech. Who would have thought it would take them this long, man? Who would ever thought it took this long to find out something that I think a lot of us knew, at least since the 60s? Freedom of speech isn't real. I'm surprised people really believed it. Then we got Donald Trump, yo. Donald Trump compromised. I think that's a valid question. Just a question. Some people might agree, some people might disagree. YouTube ain't monetized my last video either. I guess they tired of me talking about white on white violence. You know, I think they trying to sweep it under the rug. Hold up, though. Hold on, y'all. Let me put some tags in this video. Hit that like button. Share the live. It's 2 people, no likes. Come on, hit the like button. It's free. Yeah, I'm loving the back and forths in Congress too, man. I appreciate it. To be honest, I'd much rather talk about this than talk about hip hop. For people that have been following me since the very beginning, y'all know this is what I like. Yeah, man. I like talking about this. That hip hop conversation. Yeah, man, we talk about that because, people was interested, but I like really touching on real subjects. That's why if you notice whenever we do talk about hip hop, I always try to make sure it's a message in the video. Cause we ain't got time to just be wasting. You know what I mean? Hit that like button, y'all. We ain't got time to just be wasting. Hit that like button. Come on, YouTube. The dumbass shit, man. Clips, what it do? I can't complain. No, white on white violence on the rise. Have you noticed that? Shit getting out of control. People saying Charlie Kirk is like Martin Luther King. I think that's a wild narrative. Yeah, man, that's a wild narrative to place on that man. I don't think he Martin Luther King. That's crazy. Siobhan, what's up, baby? Got motherfucking Siobhan in the building. What it is? How you feeling? But y'all, I don't know if y'all noticed this, but I love this shit. I do, y'all. I love to sit back and finally be, to finally not be the ones under the microscope feels good, man. Yo, black people been under the microscope for so many years. It's like a breath of fresh air. You know what I mean? I swear, yo, this is like a breath of fresh air to be able to sit back and just watch it all play out. And knowing that you ain't got nothing to do with it. Not you, not your people, not your race, not your coach. This is totally outside of whatever we ever had going on. And I love it. I ain't gonna lie. I want to see how it play out. You got the Democrats beefing with Republicans. You got the Democrats who started censorship. The Republicans was mad that the Democrats was censoring people, and now you got the Republicans censoring people, and the Democrats is mad. Like, yo, what more could you? Yo, this is must see television, y'all. Like, for real. Like, this is like a drama series or something. What's your cup? This was a movie. What would it be, man? Yo, this is like like a Netflix special. He said Dr. Umar Johnson the prophet. I guess if Charlie Kirk a prophet, Umar Johnson could be a prophet too. Fuck it. We just gonna be, anybody can be. I might be a prophet, y'all. You know what I mean? Since we just putting that label on people. You know, since we just giving everybody prophet status, shit, I might as well be one too. Man, for real, it is like a movie. Look at this. They just had a Senate hearing. They just had a Senate hearing beefing about this shit. I love it. I ain't gonna lie. I hope they keep this shit going for the next couple of years. But I think most people just realizing that both these sides is fugazi. You know what I mean? And none of them trustworthy. And I think if there's anything to be taken from this, that's the lesson. You can't trust none of these people, man. They all working together. Like, how can you explain that? How can you explain the Democrats starting censorship and the Republicans disagreeing, only to come back?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Only to come back 4 years later and implement, and shit, they might be even worse. They get motherfuckers kicked off the air. They doing all type of shit, man. They doing all type of stuff, y'all. So this is MTG explodes at Crockett over Charlie Kirk murder suspect MAGA ties. Let's check this out, man. I love this. I can watch this shit all day.
Begin a career that is full of possibilities at
Hey,
Allstate Career School.
I was nervous.
Are we clear? What you mean? Make sure if we ain't clear, y'all let me know.
Charlie Kirk suspect's grandma says family is all MAGA. I can assure you that the 22-year-old man, Tyler Robinson, that murdered Charlie Kirk is not MAGA.
Trump called for a crackdown on the radical left, but right-wing extremists are responsible for more political violence.
All of the evidence that is being presented proves that he is a far leftist.
He creates a fictional problem while downplaying the real history of far-right violence against the American public, from the Oklahoma City bombing to January 6th.
I just want to give a warning there. We're not going to tolerate that anymore.
Now, this ain't about Charlie Kirk. This is about this beef that's going on between these sides. Like, I'm intrigued, you know. I'm intrigued.
Recognize Ms. Crockett for unanimous consent.
Yes, Mr. Chair, since I wasn't allowed equal time to debate, I have a UC. It is from, it looks like Yahoo News. It says, Charlie Kirk suspect's grandma says family is all MAGA.
Without objection, so ordered. Chair recognizes Ms. Green from Georgia.
Mr. Chair, remember I have a UC as well.
We'll recognize you next time. Chair, Ms. Green, it's your 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can assure you that the 22-year-old man, Tyler Robinson, that murdered Charlie Kirk is not MAGA. His family may be Republican.
Yo, the funny thing about this, right, is they beefing over who did what and why. Yo, but it been political carnage going back and forth on both parties. Like, they both equally is involved. You understand what I'm saying? Like, It don't matter who killed Charlie Kirk. It could have been Democrat, it could have been Republican. The bottom line is, it's a lot of killing and attempted assassination attempts going on. Well, yeah, assassination attempts going on both sides.
But all of the evidence that is being presented proves that he is a far leftist, very much integrated in online groups that are linked to Antifa. He was in a
Yeah, that's what it looked
relationship
like.
with a biological male, so-called furry, whatever that is transitioning to be a fake woman. He was not MAGA, not one bit. That is a complete lie. And it's an insult to every single Republican and person that identifies with those type of politics. We
up,
will
Vic?
not tolerate it. And that is the exact type of language that is getting many of us death threats day after day, and led to shootings on the baseball field where Steve Scalise was shot. This is what led to President Trump nearly being assassinated this
God
past
damn.
summer. This is what has led.
Yo, this is, yo, I ain't gonna lie. I told y'all this is, but is this the streets? Yo, cause we spend so much time talking about the streets. Listen to all this violence, man. Assassination attempts, shootings at baseball courts, motherfucking assassins on the roof. Like, yo, this shit is crazy, man. I ain't gonna lie. I'm here for it all, man. Let's keep it going.
Led to Charlie Kirk being assassinated. And so I just want to give a warning there. We're not going to tolerate that anymore. You know, something else we're not going to tolerate is crime. On August 11th, President Trump announced major steps to address the out-of-control crime in the district. Thank God.
No, we ain't doing that. See, there they go. We ain't doing that. Yo, we need to focus on this motherfucking political carnage going on first. I think that's important. Like, it's crazy they keep trying to divert the attention to the black community when what's going on in the political realm is just as, it might be more deadly. I showed y'all the numbers of how many just this year, y'all. It been 1,300 people shot, 1,300, 300 killed in mass shootings, and we know who's the suspects in a lot of these mass shootings. And this is not the same, like I told y'all yesterday. Yo, it's a very different situation when you're dealing with people in poverty, you know, that's having individual beefs that spill over into the streets, and, you know, people get killed. What's up, Major? And then you got people that's just wake up one morning, radicalize over a period of time, and just decide to take that anger and that frustration on a person that they don't even know. Like, yo, I think that is a much greater issue, because I think that can be solved. You understand what I'm saying? I think that can be solved with police. I think that can be solved with arrest. What's going on in the black community where you dealing with poverty and you dealing with resource problems and economic issues, yo, that's not going to be fixed with no police, yo. That's not going to stop crime. You know, it might stop crime for the moment, but I guarantee if I was to pull up DC shooting, it probably was one yesterday. So for them to keep touting this, oh, Trump sent the National Guard to DC and crime stopped. It stopped for what? A week? 2 weeks? A month? 3 weeks? Like, yo, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, is that the focus? Do we want to stop crime in the black community for 3 weeks? You feel me? Because I just don't see no long term. I just don't see that as a long term solution. You know, these people got jobs. But I think if they was to target some resources to white radicalization in these extremist groups, I think they can end them. Just like the end of the Black Panthers. Just like the end of the Civil Rights Movement. I think that's much easier to end than anything that's going on in the black community right now, especially when you're talking about police. Now, if you're going to divert some resources to the community, yeah, I'm all for that. But police ain't going to solve nothing. It ain't never solved nothing. Most of the neighborhoods are already over policed.
This is my 5th year in Congress and living in the out-of-control crime in the district. Thank God. Because this is my 5th year in Congress, and living in D.C. and working here has been a nightmare. It is. The crime is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And let's talk about some of that. Since President Trump thankfully brought in the National Guard, carjackings have decreased by 87%. Nearly 1,200 people have been arrested, including known members of MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. Those are both.
Yo, you see what I'm saying? They are. This is the prime example of what I was talking about the last couple days. Arrests. Yo, I want to see some arrests. Y'all don't want to. Yo, y'all don't think that these nationalist groups need to be targeted? Serious question, y'all. Y'all don't think these nationalist groups are a problem? I already saw the poll. Hold on, let me put a poll together. Hold on, y'all. Yo, do these national groups need to be targeted? Because I think this is the issue, y'all. Hey, Carlos Lopez, where the fuck is you from? hold up, y'all. We gotta talk to Carlos for a minute. Hey, Carlos, what the fuck are you talking about? Your last name is Lopez, man. What generation? What generation of the Lopez's? What generation are you in your family on American soil? You know, the Lopez family. Like, how the fuck you, out of all people, go and say if you don't like America, you can leave now? Like, explain this to me, please, Carlos Lopez. Cause that shit makes absolutely no sense. Look at this. So y'all don't think these this is crazy, y'all. Every day y'all growing more and more. I'm growing more and more disdain for these people that don't want to admit the truth. Man, y'all see the poll, man. It's a real question, y'all.
Foreign terrorist organizations. By the way, many of them came across the border while Democrats controlled this country in the past 4 years. Federal law enforcement seized nearly 120 firearms and busted a drug trafficking ring attempting to smuggle fentanyl.
Hey, Bully, yo, it wasn't never such thing as free speech. That's the thing. It wasn't never a such thing as free speech, because free speech would be without consequence. You understand what I'm saying? If there was truly free speech, you shouldn't have to worry about consequences. There's consequences to speech. You understand? So it never been a thing, ever. Like I told y'all before, they need to just write that shit in the Constitution. There is not a such thing as free speech over here. It ain't never been. It wasn't free speech in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. It has never been a such thing, yo. It always been consequences for the words that you speak, especially when you speaking and outside of the agenda and whatever the agenda may be at that time. If you speaking outside of the agenda, yo, your speech gonna come with consequences. This is America. It always been that way.
PCP and cocaine into D.C. A joint effort by ICE and MPD arrested an illegal alien previously charged with sex crimes against a child. D.C. went 12 days without a single homicide. Can you imagine that that's something that the National Guard had to be here to do? It's unbelievable to anybody that is right-minded. U.S. Attorney Pirro reported that 88% of arrests made between the start of the federal deployment on August 11th and August 25th resulted in charges being filed.
No, y'all, it ain't even about violence, Harrison. It ain't about. You ain't gotta be preaching violence. Your Martin Luther King was preach peace. I mean, that man used to tell people to turn the other cheek, and he was murdered, man. Yo, it's not even about violence. It's just about gathering or garnering support. Yo, once you get to a level where you got millions of people watching you, yo, your free speech is stricken. It might have been free when you had 100 people watching. You know, it might have been free when you had, I ain't gonna say 100 people, shit, they'd come at you with that. It might have been free when you got 10 people watching, right? But the minute your numbers start increasing and you got thousands and millions watching, that shit ain't free no more, man. It ain't never been free.
Is substantially higher than in 2024, where the Biden appointed U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves charged suspects only 57% of the time. That's because he was busy chasing down MAGA grandmas that went into the Capitol. So I've got a simple question for you. Mayor Bowser, do you prioritize criminals or the victims?
Hold up, y'all.
I prior.
Hold on. Yo, America don't give a fuck about victims. Like, yo, this is just another thing. Like, yo, people believe this rhetoric. Yo, since when we care about victims? Yo, since when did America care about victims? Yo, cause we we done victimized a lot of people, you know, foreign and abroad. Like, yo, people gotta start using their own brain, yo, and stop just listening to what the fuck. What year did we care about victims? Can y'all name a year when America cared about victims? Cause I haven't seen one yet. I haven't seen one yet. We go to other countries, we take over, innocent people get murdered. We victimize people in our on our homeland. Like, what year was this? Right, 9/11. You can speak your truth. We don't have to like it or listen to it. Just like Charlie and others. When you end that freedom by forcing silence and opposing views, that's not freedom. Because it never existed, Jose. It wasn't never real. Charlie ain't the first person that had this happen to. Like, why do people act like this? He's the first person. Yo, he ain't the first. He ain't gonna be the last. You understand what I'm saying? Like, yo, especially when you taking their money, man. When you taking these people money, yo, you got to abide by their rules, man. When you take these people money, yo, you got to abide by their rules. You can't deviate from that. You understand what I'm saying? You can't deviate. What the fuck is this? My face. Yeah, you can't deviate from that. We the people can stand together. People won't do that because it's hard to stand together when you got this type of shit going on. We can't even agree. We can't even agree that white nationalist groups is a problem. You know what I mean? We can't even agree. You got, I say so. Right now, it's been 22 votes. Do nationalist groups need to be targeted? 46% say yes. 54% say no. Yo, everybody should be saying yes. If we really cared about victims and free speech and back the blue and things like that. Yo, we just covered the story yesterday where a white guy, killed 3 police, shot 5. Shot 5 and killed 3 police. Where's the back the blue people at? Like, I remember a time when that was a big thing, back the blue. Why? Where's the outrage? Like, there's no outrage over this. People just, turn the blind eye to it. I just think that's crazy, y'all. I just think we live in a hypocritical time. And I think with this situation is showing how hypocritical everybody is. People only want to speak up when it's beneficial to them. Like I said, you got these two groups of people, Democrats and the Republicans, beefing over free speech when the Democrats started it. Let me show y'all something. Listen to this. Zuckerberg under pressure, Democrats.
Well, the CEO of the social media giant Meta revealing that his company censored some of its content around the COVID-19 pandemic. Mark Zuckerberg says his teams didn't want to, but they were under serious pressure from the...
No, hold up. This ain't it. Hold on. That shit was recently. Where that video at? Where they scraped it from the internet? That shit was a couple months ago. Y'all remember Mark Zuckerberg did a video, a live video speaking about how he got how they was told to take certain posts down and all that type of stuff? Where the fuck is it at? Yo, see, look, I don't get it. I don't get in between. I don't get into that liberal, conservative shit. I don't. All that shit is divisive, man. That's why. That's why we at this place. That's why we is what we is right now. That's why we is what we is right now. They got y'all right where they want you. This shit ain't got nothing to do with us, man. This ain't got nothing to do with us. What the fuck?
The FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, "Hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. We thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant." Fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely.
By what percentage?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's meaningful. Because the FBI, I think, basically came to us.
He went into he issued an apology, man. Try and fucking find this shit. They probably took it off the goddamn internet. He issued an apology for what they was doing to people during this censorship thing. And it wasn't 3 years ago. That shit was recently. That's crazy. I can't find it. All right, let's get back to what we was talking about. I'm just saying the Democrats started censorship. The Democrats started censorship. And now they complaining because Donald Trump is doing it. But when the Democrats was doing it, the Republicans was complaining. But I think this was the plan the whole fucking time, yo. I think that was a play.
Prioritize law-abiding DC residents, visitors, and workers.
So that would be law-abiding citizens and victims. Do you support the police, Mayor Bowser?
Yes.
Mr. Mendelson, do you prioritize criminals or victims of criminals?
I believe in swift and certain justice. And
No, I asked you either one. Victims of criminals, of crime, or the criminals themselves. Which one do you prioritize?
As I understand the question, victims.
Victims. Do you support the police, Mr. Mendelson?
Absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Schwab, I'll ask you the same questions.
Yo, what does...
Unfortunately,
Hold on,
people
yo.
hurt
I got a question. Yo, what does support the police even mean? Like, what does that mean, yo? Do that mean you gotta support them right or wrong? You know, because I don't think... at this age we at now, we all adults, man. We ain't children. I don't think at this age you should support anybody right or wrong. Like, what does that entails? Like, you know, if you could detail what supporting the police is, what would that look like? I don't even, what does that mean? Does that have a real meaning? Or is that just like a blanket statement? You know, because I can support the police and not support police brutality. You understand? Like, how do you differentiate between supporting the police and calling them out when it's bullshit? Just like how, you know, how some people say black people go back to Africa if you complain it, like Carlos did, he ain't even from here. Like, why can't you love your city, love your country, or love the police if that's what you want to do, but still call them out when they wrong? Why can't both those things be true? You know, why can't you do both? Why does it have to be one side or the other? Why you gotta be full throttle police, and then just look the other way when they victimizing the whole community? But Dana, a lot of times they is the enemy in certain communities, Dana. See, that's the part people don't understand, Dana. The police, where you from, Dana? Dana, Miss, where you from? The police in your community might not be the same as the ones in my community. You know what I mean? The police in your community might help you push your car to the side of the road. You know, they might help you take your bags in the house if you're struggling. They might give you a ride home. Police in my community don't do that shit. All they trying to do is arrest. You know what I mean? They might beat you up and plant drugs on you and shit like that. So that's a blanket statement because the police different and almost depending on the people that they're dealing with. You understand what I'm saying? Do that make sense to people? See, but America has done a good job of separating people. You know, for the most part, America is still largely segregated. You understand what I'm saying? So your perception of the police, you can't exert your perception of the police on me. You understand what I'm saying? Because the police where I'm from showed me different than what the police where you from showed you. Do that make sense to people? Or are people confused? It's just us. That don't make sense? You see what I'm saying? Yo, y'all can't be logical. That makes perfect sense. Perception is reality. So the perception of your police, the perception of police that you have shapes your reality of what the police is, right? No, the fuck they ain't. Just us. No, they ain't. No, they not. Maybe where you from. But you can't make that my reality. What we need to do is listen to each other. That's the only way it's going to work. Like, just us. And for the people that think like him, you can't tell me what the police are doing in my community. There's no way you can do that. See, but for me, I lived in both communities. So I see the difference in police tactics. You understand? So that's why I can say this with confidence, that the police in some communities, they actually do their job. I don't live, do this look like the hood to you? I don't live in the hood. The police in some of these communities actually do their job, y'all. They do. They don't harass. No, they don't pull you over for nothing. They actually do their job. But I done lived in areas where the police harass. The police will pull you over and say you fit the description of a crime or a criminal, drag you out the car just to search you and let you go. That's what they do. You can be walking down the street, just came out the house. They don't have to do that because they don't know what that creates, just us. Resentment. That creates resentment. That's not good police work. All that does is create a us versus them mentality. And you see the results of it. All right, let's get back to the argument.
People. So sometimes victims are victims one day and
So
are
you
perpetrators
prioritize the
next day.
criminals, is that what you're saying, over victims of crime?
I prioritize making up my city as safe as it can
I'll
possibly
take
be.
that as criminals. Do you support police,
What's up,
Mr.
Nikki?
Schwab?
Of course, we work very closely with MPD every day.
Mr. Jackson, the same questions for you.
Definitely prioritize victims, and I stand with the 24 states that are suing the Trump administration for withholding $1 billion in victim service funds.
Oh, shut up.
so
Hold on,
you-
y'all. I gotta get my charger.
So, okay, so you're against cleaning up crime in D.C. Thank you for that. I've got an article here. The D.C. Police Union is the biggest cheerleader of Trump's D.C. police takeover. So the police here in the district support the efforts and the help from the president. However, I've got a quote here from Mr. Mendelson. You call the union celebrating Trump's takeover just despicable. You literally attacked the police in your statements. You're calling
That's not correct.
the union supporting the president and the National Guard here, helping them every day on the streets. You're quoted as saying that's just despicable.
You're taking that out of context. I criticized the president of the FOP because he is a liar.
Oh, so you are against the police. Thank
No,
you for clearing that up.
no.
Also, I have
Chairman,
one
I believe our
one
time
last
is
thing, Mr.
President
Chairman.
of the FOP, not the police.
I reclaim my time. Lastly here, Mr.
Gentlelady's time's
Mendelson,
expired.
you,
Gentlelady's time's expired. Chair recognizes Mr. Bell.
Mr. Chairman, I have a UC request.
Okay, state your.
All right, look.
I would like to
Hold on.
enter for the
No,
record.
All right, I'm sorry.
Yo, for the MAGA people, right? Is this the same Donald Trump? Could y'all, for the people that's for the MAGA people, like the die-hard ones, is this the same Donald Trump that was elected a couple years back? The Donald Trump that was elected a couple years back is not the same Donald Trump that we seeing now. No, it's not the same Donald Trump, man. You think he's better? I need y'all to explain this to me, man. I don't see how y'all saying that. Y'all not being honest, man. Y'all not being honest, yo. Ain't no way. What is he doing better? He just has more support. You think he got more support? I think Donald Trump is losing support. Yeah, but it looked like he's creating his own swamp. Because you can't, I don't see how y'all see it. Because I supported Trump. And I see y'all, the thing is, I don't fall down no rabbit hole too deep. You understand what I'm saying? I can support you and then see flaw in you and then back away. You know what I mean? Like I ain't deep like that. Like I ain't gonna go down the rabbit hole and die down that bitch. A lot of y'all gonna die down the rabbit hole, man, because if you can't see this ain't the same president, then you just blind. If you can't see this is not the same guy, yo, you just blind, man. You just don't want to believe it. You know, but that's typical. That's typical people. People like lies, and you know, when people believe a lie, it's hard to sway people back to the truth. You know what I mean? So they just live on a lie. They die on the hill. So y'all co-sign the situation with Jimmy Kimmel? Y'all cool with that? So if y'all cool, see this the crazy thing about it, right? Let me tell y'all how hypocritical y'all is. The same people that's upset that Charlie Kirk was murdered, right? Charlie Kirk got murdered for free speech, right? Ain't that what most people think? Even if it ain't the truth. Most people think that Charlie Kirk got murdered because of free speech, right? Right? Y'all upset about that. Y'all upset about that. But y'all not upset that Donald Trump or the Trump administration allegedly removed Kimmel off air? Explain, how do that make sense to y'all? How, if y'all should be upset with that, y'all should be upset with this because they both being silenced. You understand? It don't matter if you being silenced by death. It don't matter if you being silenced by jail. It don't matter if you being silenced monetarily. Being silenced is being silenced. Man, y'all crazy, man. Y'all hypocrites. Y'all hypocrites, man. That shit sad. Yeah, we ain't never gonna get nowhere. Yeah, he can make a podcast, but he ain't gonna have the same reach. He can make a podcast. Yeah, it's definitely free speech when it's convenient. I don't think he doing what he ran on, Malika. Donald Trump said that he ain't even read Project 2025, but then implemented everything, damn near implemented everything that was in it. Exactly, South Park. I'm glad you putting that up. Remember when they silenced Trump? Y'all had an issue with that. I forgot Trump got silenced by they removed Donald Trump from off of Twitter. And they removed his ass off of Twitter while he was the president. Wasn't he the president at that time? I think he was. Removed his ass off of Twitter, man. And people was in an uproar. But since Jimmy Kimmel was not a Trump supporter, at least it don't look like it. And the people that support Trump don't support him. Y'all don't see no issue with Jimmy Kimmel getting kicked off air. I don't know if that's true or not, man. Yo, what the fuck happened to the computer? I don't know if Jimmy Kimmel had terrible ratings, cause what I just saying, they say Jimmy Kimmel ratings was alright. Man, y'all are crazy, man. Oh, let me click this.
Republicans in the House have set up what I'm sure they think of as a very clever trap to ensnare Democrats in this resolution that is ostensibly designed to honor the life of Charlie Kirk after his tragic.
I don't want to watch that. Yo, clickbaited with the thumbnail. Who the fuck is he? I don't want to watch that. Hit that like button, y'all. What are you talking about, South Park? I think a lot of people was upset that Jimmy Kimmel got fired. Just us is crazy.
All right, I'm sorry, Miss Green. I recognize Bell. That's on me. I apologize. We'll get you on the next one.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I request unanimous consent to enter into the record the September 9th, 2025 article from the LA Times titled Kennedy Commission Child Health Report Ignores Gun Violence, the Leading Cause of Child Death, which calls out the Trump administration for ignoring
Without
gun
objection to
violence
order.
kills more children in this country than any other cause, and the administration ought to be embarrassed by
Without objection, so ordered. And I
think Ms. Crockett's unanimous.
Ms. Crockett's next.
Do you have a UC?
I'll recognize Ms. Green, then Ms. Crockett. Ms. Green, do you have a unanimous consent request?
I do, thank you. For the record, Phil Mendelson's post here says repealing our laws is not liberation. Republicans in Congress can't be trusted. They took $1 billion from us, are moving more than a dozen bills, rolling back home rule, and are trying to take away our elected independent attorney general and micromanaging our legislative process. I hope everybody watched Democrats vote against the vote that adds $1 billion back in for DC. Thank you.
Without objection to order, Chair recognizes Ms. Crockett.
Yes, I request unanimous consent to enter into the record this September 16th, 2025 article from Time titled Trump Called for a Crackdown on the Radical Left, but Right-Wing Extremists Are Responsible for More Political Violence, which calls out the game the president is playing, in which he creates a fictional problem while downplaying the real history of far-right violence against the American public from the Oklahoma City bombing to January 6th. I got another one.
Without objection, so ordered.
All right, the next one is for, it's an article from September 12th, 2025. Article is from Democracy Docket titled, I Couldn't Care Less, Trump's Downplaying of Right-Wing Violence Continues Long Pattern, which calls out the game the president is playing in which he creates a fictional problem while downplaying the real history of far-right violence against the American public.
Now look, I ain't on no far. I think they both need to be get rid of. It's crazy, yo, that the nationalist groups need to be targeted. 54% of people said no. Why? With all this violence that's going on with these political parties, why don't y'all want them in jail? I don't get that, yo. Like, yo, I'm having a hard time understanding the logic in that, you know. If these was black kids, y'all be calling for the execution of them. Y'all be calling for a public execution. You know what I mean? Firing squad. But being as though these are not black kids, seems like nobody cares. Nobody cares. We's gonna keep allowing it to happen. Look at this. Trump asked the Supreme Court for an emergency order to remove Lisa Cook from the federal board. Secret Service detains armed man posing as law enforcement at Charlie Kirk Memorial Site. Look at what's going on right now, y'all. Look at what's going on. And y'all don't think this is an issue. Yo, that is crazy. I'm disappointed. I'm gonna keep telling y'all that I'm disappointed in y'all, man. Because they're committing crimes, Michaela. They're committing crimes, man. For the people that time this thing. He said, look at my question. Appreciate the $2 super sticker. I don't see it. You gotta say it again. I don't see it. They both parties are doing it. Both parties are doing it. Pentagon wants journalists to only report what they approve. Y'all don't have no issue with none of this. That is crazy, y'all. Look at this. Can y'all see this? This clear? The Pentagon has rolled out a new policy requiring journalists who cover the Department of Defense to sign a pledge restricting what they can report. Under the guidelines, reporters are barred from using information that hasn't been cleared by government officials, even if the material is not classified. If they refuse their press credentials and access to the Pentagon briefings could be revoked. The move, pushed under Defense Secretary Pete Whatever, has sparked immediate backlash from press freedom groups, constitutional law experts, and major media organizations. The 17-page memo outlines a sweeping rule. No information can be published unless it is formally approved for release. That includes unclassified data, routine updates, and even background details that journalists typically gather from their reporting. The National Press Club called the policy a direct threat to press freedom and said it undermines transparency at the time when accountability in defense matters is more crucial than ever before. But y'all don't have no problem with none of this. Hey, to understand, I try to, you ain't ask no question. Young OG. Come on, man, you ain't ask no question, man. Stop doing that. Appreciate the $2, though. Look at us. For the people that think this is not an issue.
Fox News alert. The man who attempted to kill Brett Kavanaugh isn't a man. He's trans. New court documents reveal Nicholas Roski has changed his identity. He's now Sophie Roski. Filings show that Roski actually used female pronouns before trying to kill Kavanaugh. So here we have more trans terrorism.
No, I'm trying to understand. You ain't ask no question.
Sophie faces 30 years in prison and has already pled guilty. Just a matter of time until Kimmel says Sophie's MAGA. Fox News alert. The man who attempted...
Politically motivated attacks, 2025. Anybody did a video on this? MSNBC did a video 9 days ago.
Joining us now, former Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson, who served in the Obama administration. He's also a current trustee of the 9/11 Memorial and Museum.
I see this.
Last several years ago, called COVID, and outrage of our American democracy. We put together an extraordinary group of Americans, bipartisan, former judges, retired Navy admirals, historians, not just lawyers, and we generated a report that was released. Crisis, every outrage of the day or the week. We asked ourselves, what is it about the undercurrents of American society that lead the American public, the American voters, to make the choices they made in the last several elections? And so we make a series of recommendations, including rededicating ourselves to American civics education. And when it comes to extremist views and the like.
Yeah, I see it, time stand. Yeah, Roseanne was canceled. That's what I'm saying. This been going on for so long. I don't know why people are shocked. That's my whole thing about this video. Why are people shocked that this is going on when it's never been free speech? It's not left or right. You know, it's just America. Just like, they killed journalists in North Korea, in Russia. Like, people get murdered, man, for what you say, man. Now, the United States do things a little bit different, yo, but it's all the same, yo. That's what one of the realest things Donald Trump said is when they was asking him. This was the last time he was president. They was asking. This probably this one of the reasons I started fucking with him. They asked him about how are you cool with Vladimir Putin? He's a murderer. And his reply is, man, you act like we any different. I say, yo, I'm glad somebody said it. But he's not talking like that no more. And that's not the same guy that we saying now. You know what I mean? It seems like now he's I don't know if he's teetering or pandering, but it ain't right. You understand? It ain't right, yo. You can't complain that people silence you to only turn around and do the same thing. If it's wrong all around. It's all around the board. If it's wrong no matter who does it. I think so too. Mason, I think so too. He compromised. This ain't the same guy, yo. People that don't want to admit it, don't admit it. But I see it. You know what I mean? This is not the same guy, yo, that won the election in, what was that, 2016? This guy is different. And I understand why he's different. Man, that man had 3-4 attempts on his life. You don't think that's going to change people? If you had 3-4 attempts on your life behind your political views, what you gonna do? Now, some people say, man, fuck it, I'm standing on it. Then some people gonna be like, man, look, I ain't gonna lie, this shit ain't that serious. I ain't trying to lose my life over this shit. What you want me to do? You feel me? That's just, it's just human nature. Some people gonna say, fuck, they're going to kill me, man. But most people, it's very few people that's going to be on that end. That say, man, fuck it, I'm willing to die about this shit. Most people is going to be like, yeah, I know I said that, but, I would have compromised. I would have been a little bit. You feel me? I ain't going this far. I might just take it, but I ain't taking that extra step.
We've endorsed several pieces of federal legislation to clearly identify AI content, to disallow deep fakes intended to mislead the public. And we talk about the rising tide of political violence in America, as evidenced by the assassination of Charlie Kirk just yesterday, and where the current state of our democracy is leading the public. One of our other major recommendations is open nonpartisan primaries so that our elected leaders are not just appealing to the extreme right and the extreme left because they fear primaries. Let's encourage our elected leaders to address the needs and desires of those more in the center.
Listen, I think that's a great idea, and I think I would say that as well. I think there are a few ways to make it better. One is open primaries. One is to formalize redistricting in a way that is more like a graph as opposed to a
citizen redistricting commissions. It's another one of our recommendations. Right now, you have a situation where the politicians pick their voters.
But we are only having more gerrymandering, and we are having fewer open primaries. It's going in the opposite direction. So you have the recommendations. How do you get people to see beyond their own political interests and adopt those recommendations?
Well, in this respect, I am an optimist.
Okay, great.
And when it comes to citizen redistricting commissions, if you put it to the people on a ballot initiative, do you support having apolitical, ordinary, everyday citizens draw legislative districts as opposed to the politicians? You get a resounding yes, unless the political forces in a state are able to beat back the initiative. But when you poll on this issue, you find that something like 70 or 80% of the public are supportive of.
How do you get that ballot initiative on the ballot?
That's good. That's a good point, because sometimes it's up to politicians to make that happen. But that is the path forward. That is the specific path forward to, I believe, more accountable government, more accountable elected leaders. It's something of a vicious cycle where the public is more and more prone to conspiracy theories, extremist views, and we have elected leaders who pander to those views. And if we can re-incentivize our elected leaders to be more accountable to the political center, then compromise is no longer a dirty word.
Yeah.
And people are elected to get stuff done.
Let's talk a little bit about Charlie Kirk and what happened yesterday, the horror of what happened yesterday. The FBI is still searching for the suspect.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about what it's like inside counterterrorism units within the United States with a rise in domestic terror.
My guess is that, and this is an educated guess, I don't know this, that they know the name of the person in the photograph, and it's probably hours before he is captured, arrested. When your image is splashed across every newspaper in the country, it's a matter of
They're saying this is a person of interest, not necessarily a suspect quite yet.
Correct, but the individual in the photographs, I
Hey, yo, look, yo, I don't know, I don't give a fuck about liberal, conservative, none of that shit. Like, yo, I was recommend that y'all get that shit out y'all system too, for real. Like that is, if y'all haven't noticed, yo, that's the issue, man. That's the problem, man. Liberal, conservative, far right, far left, man, fuck all of that shit. All of it is a problem. Like when people be coming here thinking they saying something slick, what is this liberal? I'm a conservative. Man, fuck that dumbass shit, man. All of it is stupid. Cause all they doing is getting rich while we argue. You know what I mean? While you sit back arguing with your next door neighbor on political views, these motherfuckers is running up numbers. You heard me? Rich as a bitch. Look up some of their net worths. See how much money they made this year. That man, that shit so fucking stupid. Fucking liberal. Everybody liberal. I don't give a fuck about neither party. I might vote Democrat. I might vote Republican. I might vote Independent. You understand what I'm saying? I might not vote at all. You know, it just depends on, you know, what the policies is and what I agree with. You know, but to sit back and just stay with one party just because that's what your family was raised on, man, you fucking crazy. Yeah, I did not support Kamala Harris at all. Kamala Harris can run for president every year of her life, and she will never get a vote from Keeping G News. Yeah, I promise you. She'll never get a vote. Her or Obama. I mean, see, that's what I'm saying. Y'all keep listening to stereotypes. Like, yo, what you watching on the mainstream media ain't real. You understand? What you watching on some of these YouTube pages that got millions of followers, that shit ain't real either. These motherfuckers are compromised, man. They getting corporate backing, man. They getting corporate backing, man. They look at Charlie Kirk. Got corporate backing. He was spitting somebody else's words. The minute he went outside of spitting somebody else's words, what happened? Y'all better wake the fuck up, man. Pay attention to what the fuck really going on. Stop living in a bubble. Stop living in a bubble. That man went off script and lost his life, man.
This is really.
Then you got him. I think he was fired from CNN so he can. I think he's still working with them people, to be honest. You know, I think a lot of them anchors got fired so they can branch off into social media to help push the same message. I just started thinking this recently. You know, because a lot of these anchors got fired. Y'all noticed that, right? Just out the blue. Been working these jobs for however many years. Then they get fired and go straight to YouTube. I don't believe that's real. I believe that was them just trying to, you know, as a way to, you know, still push the same message. But, you know, get a on a bigger landscape. You know, cover more ground. That's what that seems like to me. I think everybody should at least vote independent. At least register independent.
Gary, the First Amendment is over. Freedom of speech. Have you seen what the Pentagon is doing? They are ordering reporters to get approval on the information that they can take or give to the press or disseminate. This is censorship.
No, I don't think
dictatorship
that's what it was,
at its highest.
I don't think his rhetoric was dangerous, and I said that too, Michaela. It's crazy you said that because that's what I've been saying. One of his biggest problems was Charlie Kirk. That is. Was going to them college campuses. So you can't do that. You mean? But I don't think that's what got him killed. I think that's what got him, under the microscope. I think that's what got him some corporate dollars backing him. But it's another group of people that's not going to agree with that. Especially if you go up there and you say something or you start speaking opposite of what the agenda is. You can't do that. Not when you paying you. I had to tell my little cousin that the other day. We was having this conversation. I said, if I pay you $100 million, and you don't say what I say. I said, if I pay you $100 million, ain't you going to say what I want you to say? He said, hell no. And I said, well, I'm going to knock you off then, bro. I'm not, why else am I paying you? Why else am I donating all this money to you if you're not going to push my interests? Like, how much, does that make any business sense to anybody in the world? Does that make logical sense to anybody in the world? I'm going to pay you millions of dollars, and you're not going to say what I want you to say, and you think we're still going to be cool? Man, fuck no. That shit don't go like that. Yeah, that don't go like that, y'all. Like, I don't know if y'all know how this country works. Hey, yo, Ronnie, they tried to kill a man 3 times. What you mean? They tried to kill a man 3 times, man.
It's ridiculous. We need to stand up and fight. When the First Amendment is gone, freedom of speech, democracy is over.
Yo, but this is, see, y'all, this what I'm saying, this is bogus, y'all. Because he was one of the, when Trump got kicked off of Twitter, he was fucking, he was waving his motherfucking rainbow flag. You understand what I'm saying? He was waving his rainbow flag when Trump got kicked off of Twitter. Now look at him. Like, oh, this is not, y'all better stop falling for this shit, man. I mean it. Yeah, I'm asking a question. Do nationalist groups need to be targeted by the FBI? Should nationalist groups be targeted like the Black Panthers? Nationalist groups have done way more damage to the United States than the Black Panthers than ever have. I ain't really been, I ain't know they were still around. Free Man, Kansas Free Man. I ain't know they were still around. I ain't heard from them in a while. Yeah, Trump got kicked off the X in 2017 or something like that.
By the way, this is from the Department of Defense, which is now the Department of War. Good Lord. This is really scary. The First Amendment is over. Freedom of speech.
Just know you can have whatever political view that you want, but if it ain't about money, you will never get killed by a black person. Yeah, we don't participate in this level of violence. We don't do this. We're not that entranced in this shit. We're not that entranced in it. I don't know what it is in that tree, but that shit's getting my fucking nerve.
May not have defunded the police, and that's a good thing, but you did provide a...
Did y'all see this?
If you had a do-over, would you say that again? I mean, what led you to say that?
Piers, let me just say this. I'm going to answer your question, but just so the audience knows, and I hope you don't cut this out, when I asked you what subjects you wanted to talk about, you know what you said to me? You said, I want to talk to you about freedom of speech in America and the response to Charlie Kirk's...
I agree. Yeah. It's always wrong until you hit... And that's why I'm bringing this to the doorsteps of where it deserves. Like, oh, this is a real conversation. This is a real problem. But it's like they don't want to address it. It's a damn shame, that 52% of the people thinking nationalist groups don't need to be targeted. That is a shame to me. But that is indicative of the climate of America that we living in, or that we always lived in. What's good for the goose, not good for the gander. We don't look at situations the same. We look at situations based on our interests and based on what we identify with. But that's why we here. That is the issue in this country. We can't look at 2 identical situations and it be a white group and a black group and carry it the same way. We can't do that. We can't do that. White nationalists has done way more damage than the Black Panthers. Way more damage. Way more. Like, I don't even think you can even... If you used to put that bitch on a scale, it'd be like this. But the Black Panthers got depleted, prosecuted maliciously. They designed a whole program, COINTELPRO, to take down these groups with misinformation, slander campaigns. They sent Dr. King wife pictures of him with other women. Like this is what the United States government has done historically, still do. They just more discreet. But now we got this issue of white radicalization and political violence, and nobody wants to do anything about it. We don't want to change no laws. We don't want to do nothing. We just gonna sit back and let another school shooting happen. But like my man Madison said, people only care when they hit their doorstep. That's the only time when people care. But if people would have cared in the 60s, we wouldn't be here in the 2025s. Did that make sense to people? If people would have cared about the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, in 2025, we wouldn't be here. We'd have had this shit under control. Malika, but you know, just not everybody. You know, some people did care back then. Ready, rain? Some people did care back then, but a lot of people didn't. Enough people didn't care for it to go unnoticed. A lot of people is shocked about Charlie Kirk. You shouldn't be shocked. I think it was shock seeing it, you know, because a lot of us alive today haven't never seen nothing like that. But if you're just dealing with historical data or just dealing with history, it's like, shit, that's what they always do. You feel me? Like, as bad as it is, as fucked up as it is, this is what happens, y'all, when you go outside the lines and you become a public speaker and you got millions of people supporting you and you might say the wrong thing or your message might be leaning toward one side or the other. You get killed for that, y'all. You even, like I said, you get killed, you can get slandered, you can get falsely prosecuted. Look at Diddy. A lot of people ain't like when I was speaking up for Diddy because they came down on him. You know what I mean? He was... they came down on him, man, because he got outside the line, man. He sued a company that he made billions with, or at least attempted to sue a company that he made billions with. You can't do that in this country, man. You're gonna pay for that. We helped you become a billionaire, and you sue us for racial discrimination. It's consequences for that. Yeah, Trump's scared to death. That's why his stance changed.
Said you mentioned that we were going to talk about CNN or whatever. So, and had I known that, I probably wouldn't have accepted this interview. You have invited me on many times, and I tell you, Piers, I know you. I would come on your show, but I don't do panels. And so when you said I'm not going to be involved in a panel, I agreed to come on your show. But I thought you would also stick by the subjects that you told me that you were going to talk about.
Just to be clear,
rather than try to ambush me with something.
Just to be clear,
so,
you and I haven't. Well, Don, just to be clear, you and I haven't had any conversation.
Yeah, but it depends on what side of the equation he was on. You know, perspective, who he was raised with. Just because he mixed, that don't mean nothing. The Panthers did great things. Did we gotta watch a documentary on the Panthers? Most people don't even really understand most people outside of the black community don't even understand what the Panthers even stood for. You know, because a lot of people just listen to the media and the propaganda that was pushed and think they was a radical group. No, y'all. It was a time, and that time what was going on was police was sicking spraying people with water hose and sicking dugs on people, getting them bit all up. And you understand? Like that was a rough time in America. So what the Panthers decided to do is we're going to band together and we're going to police our own communities. We're going to have after school programs. We're going to give kids lunch. You know what I'm saying? We're going to educate our own people. And for some reason, the United States government looked at that as a threat to national security.
About your appearance here. You're talking about my team talking to you?
2800.
Yeah, no, and I saw you, Piers, in a restaurant, and I said, hey, Piers, good to see you. Yeah. I would come on your show, but I don't.
If you had a do-over,
alrighty, bro.
Would you say that again? I mean, what led you to say
Okay,
that.
Piers, let me just say this. I'm going to answer your question, but just so the audience knows, and I hope you don't cut this out. When I asked you what subjects you wanted to talk about, you know what you said to me? You said, I want, but I don't do panels.
Right,
And I
you're not
said
on
the
a
same
panel.
thing to your bookers.
There's only one
and
of
so
you,
when
Don.
I asked you, and right. Okay, and so, yes, and I said that's why I agreed to do it. But when you asked me, or when your team asked me what subjects,
Yo,
and I asked
let
them.
me ask y'all this, y'all. How did y'all get so political? Like, how did y'all get like this? Like, how did y'all allow these people to create such a divide? The way as though if you on one side, you can't stand the other side. How the fuck did that happen, man? Yo, how did that happen, yo? Like, that shit is confusing to me. I could never be that way. Yo, I didn't like Kamala Harris. I thought Kamala Harris was cosplaying as a black woman. You know, I thought she said a lot of wild things on the campaign trail that I couldn't agree with. I don't support Obama either. I don't think we ever had a black president. I don't think in 2025 we have yet to have a black president because Obama wasn't a black president. Obama not from my community. He didn't grow up with us. You understand what I'm saying? Ain't nobody in Chicago can say, oh shit, man, Obama, man, I remember we used to do this. Man, he wasn't that. But America forced y'all to believe we had our first black president. Yeah, man, we had our first black president, Barack Obama. I looked at that man like, man, hell no. He don't look like my next door neighbors. Yeah, man, he don't look like my father, my aunts, my uncles, my brothers. That man wasn't that. I don't know.
2 or 3 times I have the text messages. What do you want to cover? Yeah. Not once was CNN mentioned. So I don't appreciate being ambushed. But let me answer your question.
Hang on one second. No, Don, hang on 1 second. Let's just be crystal clear about what's just happened. You brought up the subject of cancel culture. I asked you, did you feel your departure from CNN was an example of that? And you answered the question. And I think it's perfectly reasonable.
And I answered the question.
Perfectly reasonable in that if you'd said to me, I don't want to talk about it, fine. No, but hang on, no, sorry.
This would make me think it really wasn't a departure from CNN. They just needed their people. Yo, I always got to take this back to the narrative conversation. Yo, controlling the narrative is important, man. These guys didn't get fired. You know what I mean? They didn't get fired, man. I don't think that's what actually happened. These guys got pushed on to help further the message. You know, because he's still pushing the same message. He's just not on CNN. You know, we're going to reserve these seats. You already have a name. We didn't build you up enough where you can have your own following. Now you can go over here and push the same message. Now our message is reaching a wider audience because the internet is taking over. That's what I think really happened. And it ain't just about Democrats, it had what Republicans, it had with conservative, liberals, all of the shit y'all like to talk about. That's what I think what really happened, man. Tucker Carlson didn't get fired. he got sent to YouTube. Still pushing the same shit.
You said what you're going to say. By the way, we
disingenuous.
don't.
I don't like arguing like this. I'm not going to get into an argument with you. Piers, I think that's completely disingenuous. And I think anyone watching that.
What are you talking about?
And so if you will allow me, please, but I don't do panels.
Right.
And I said the same thing to your bookers.
There's only one.
And so when I asked you,
you say you've never seen him once.
Okay. And so yes. And
what are you talking about?
Okay.
Did
you invite me here to interrupt me, or are you going to let me?
I think you're being a complete dick, if I'm honest with you.
Okay.
I do.
Well, that's very kind and respectful of you.
It wasn't intended to be kind or respectful.
I don't like the ad hominem attacks. I could respond in kind,
you
but
can say
I
what you like about me.
I think that I'm above that. I'm not going to do that, Piers. That's not who I am.
I don't understand why you're playing the victim card when you yourself mentioned.
Maybe on paper, Renee. Maybe he was fired on paper. I don't think any of these people really was fired, to be honest.
Cancel culture.
Because Piers. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. Let me do this.
What are you going to do? Read out my team's messages to you?
Piers? It should be embarrassing. I can read out your team messages to you because
what are you prepared to talk about,
and you know that. I'm prepared to answer your question, and then I'm going to move on. I told you I'm prepared to talk about Charlie Kirk's death, the response to it, and cancel culture.
It is about class. It's about class and color. It's definitely about class, but you got to go back into redlining. Redlining was about color. So yeah, it's about class, but it's definitely about color as well. You can't just negate the fact that color is a thing. You know, redlining was real. You know, a lot of these cities that's predominantly black was redlined back in the 1920s.
And freedom of the press. No, I'm not prepared to talk. I can talk about cancel culture, but that has. Oh my God, Piers, could you stop interrupting me?
You're kind of exhausting me. It's ridiculous. Why would you react this way to a perfectly normal? Obviously, if you mention cancel culture, obviously it's rational and logical that I would ask you whether you felt what happened to you at CNN was that. I play the clip and then you throw a hissy fit.
I've given you a moment. Enough. I've given you your moment.
I don't want a moment.
This is going to go viral. So please,
I don't want a moment.
Yes, you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't do this. Otherwise, you would be a respectful journalist and host. And
I don't think I'll take lectures on being a respectful journalist
because you want a moment. Oh my gosh, Piers.
I won't.
I can't even hear because there's a delay and you keep talking. And what do you want me to do? Like rip the earpiece out of the mic and run off so you have a moment?
No, I don't care.
Are you going to let me answer the question? Are you just going to keep pillaring me with questions?
I don't know why you've gone on this weird rant. I don't understand any of it.
Yeah, Renee, but it disproportionately affected black people, and it was targeted, and that was the purpose of it. Come on, man, don't do that, Renee. Let's keep it real. You know, we keep it real. Just keep it G News for a reason. We keep it real over here, man.
Have you done?
No, I'm not prepared.
Okay, reaction. I simply asked you about whether you felt your departure from CNN was, in your eyes, an example of cancel culture. I played the clip,
Piers,
and I then said, when you watch it back, do you really understand what you were saying?
This is why I don't do this, but you're embarrassing yourself, Piers.
Actually, you might be embarrassing yourself, though.
Oh my God. Okay.
Reaction. I simply asked you about whether you.
Hey, Janie. You want to have a conversation? You want to talk about it, Janie? Let's see. Hey, Janie. Let's see who knows more. You can call me. I'll give you my number. We can have a conversation. Let's see who's ignorant and who's not. Since you come here with dumbass comments.
CNN was, in your eyes, an example of cancel culture. I played the clip,
Piers,
and I then said, when you watch it back, do you really understand what you were saying?
This is why I don't do this, but you're embarrassing yourself, Piers.
Actually, you might be embarrassing yourself, though.
Oh my God. Okay.
Reaction. I simply asked you about whether you felt.
Yeah, but it disproportionately affected black people, Renee. Disproportionately affected black people, Renee. We talking about the hills of slavery. Come on, man. Let's not do that. Now you got this kid. Fuck that shit go at. What a little kid that said Charlie Kirk was MLK. Who agrees with this statement?
Messages that makes him similar to MLK in that way. What change was he trying to enact?
I love our people too, Ty.
You can say that, so are you okay if can I guess what you think Charlie thinks? So you're surprised that I'm comparing to MLK because you think that Charlie was driving races apart?
Oh no, you don't have to assume what I'm thinking.
Okay, no. So no, we do believe that Charlie was trying to bring us together and he was trying to lift us towards Christ.
How do you feel about a whole bunch of these quotes that I honestly think divide us? Do you guys feel like Charlie was a hateful person?
I believe that he's a racist. Why would a racist quote?
Why do you feel like people may interpret anything he says as racist? Why do you think people may interpret him as a racist or
number one, because he's white, and number too, because he talks about divisive issues like race, which can divide people, but you have to have an open mind to see the truth of things.
Do you think he ever uses any incorrect statistics or says anything that might be inherently stereotypical that might, come off as racist to some people?
Statistics
Not statistics. I meant things that are like stereotypical. Like he would,
well, like what?
kind of, he would make generalizations about race, but
like what?
things that weren't necessarily true. I'm just kind of asking just to get your opinion.
Okay. I think stats are, it's impossible for stats to be racist, because if you look at it,
well, there are some statistics that aren't true that in the past, I can't pull them up right now because obviously like I'm recording.
we have to pull them up, but like what topic?
I believe it was about the crime rate. It was an old statistic that he used that was.
I believe that he's a racist. Why would a racist quote?
Why do you that was
like race wise or?
I believe so.
Okay, I mean, I'm from California. I'm from an hour outside of LA. I play football here. I'm not this like guy that just grew up around white people, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Oh no, I don't have any opinion.
It's not a race thing.
Charlie Kirk was very divisive. Like, for him to say he's something like MLK like that is like, I don't know what he was saying. But Charlie Kirk pushed rhetoric. People can hate it or disagree. The man pushed rhetoric, man. Stereotypes. Wasn't a whole lot of truth. Yeah, right, and that's a lie. Welfare is a white woman's program. Statistically and per capita. What the fuck? Why Charlie Kirk died and Trump lived? The fuck type of shit is this? Let's check this out. That's a wild ass statement. Mikhail, you think he spoke truth? Hey, Mikhail, he might have spoke truth on something. Now you can't be Charlie Kirk was out of line speaking on issues in the black community. He was out of line, man. There's no way that he should have been doing it. Because there's no way he should have been doing that because he didn't know enough. That's like me going on a platform. Damn, man. Might gotta go in the house. Can we get a better? Yeah, we get a better picture right here. That's like me going to college campuses telling white people what's the issues in their community and how it need to be fixed. I can't do that, man. Hey, Dan, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I watched enough of his debates. I can't do that. I'll be out of line to do that. Man. Should nobody be doing that? I wouldn't be out of line. I seen him debate liberals. I seen him debate a black kid about crime in, what was it? What city was that? Was it Chicago? Yeah, crime in Chicago. I watched a few of his debates. He couldn't debate me. I'd have made him look real bad in the debate on the black community. Real bad. Like y'all have been looking at Charlie totally different. OG, what it do? I mean, like, he was pushing rhetoric, yo. Because you can't talk about issues in the black community and not explain how we got there. No, I watched those interviews. We watched them all live together.
Two big targets. Two gunmen ready to kill. Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump were targeted by supposedly amateur hitmen in two of the most shocking assassination attempts in recent American history. The outcomes could not have been more different, but the circumstances surrounding each event were eerily similar. We're going to put both crime scenes under a microscope, dig into the details of each shooting, and uncover how they're shifting the course of American politics. In this episode of Photo Evidence. Charlie Kirk was a conservative commentator, activist, and co-founder of Turning Point USA, an organization that aimed to promote conservative politics among young Americans. On September the 10th, 2025, the 31-year-old was at Utah Valley University campus in the town of Orem, here. This was one of 15 planned stops on a university campus speaking tour titled American Comeback. Here is a view of the scene. Kirk was seated under a canopy tent, here, with unrestricted lines of sight to the surrounding buildings. He was effectively seated pride of place in a sunken amphitheater in front of a crowd of 3,000 people. The shooter, who we'll come on to later, was atop this structure, the Losi Center. This 4-story building is a university admin hub and is generally open to the public. Investigators combing the scene in the hours after the shooting established that the shooter opened fire from this position. Here, you can see the imprints his prone body left in the grit covering the roof. Cross-referencing this image with this map, we can estimate the shooter was positioned roughly 426 feet away from Kirk. That's 130 meters. The shooter had an unobstructed line of sight to his target, sitting under this tent here. In this image of the event, you can see the environmental conditions for the shot were ideal.
I don't know, Dan. I don't know what you said about white videos. I ain't watched all his videos, man. I wasn't a supporter.
Clear, blue, sunny skies, and low wind. This here is the site of Kirk's killing in Orem. The attempt on Donald Trump's life took place at the other end of the country in Butler, Pennsylvania, some 1,657 miles away from the UVU campus.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But the fundamental variables were much the same. Trump, then presumptive Republican
right, it's like getting surgery, exactly, Darren. It's like getting surgery advice from a mechanic. Exactly. Yo, he was out of line, yo. I know a lot of people agreed with it, you know, because it sound good. But, yo, he was out of line forever doing that. He didn't know enough. No, you can't read a book and study statistics and then be a scholar on what's going on in the black community. You gotta live there, man. You gotta live there.
Here, at the Butler Farm Showgrounds on July 13th, 2024. Butler, a fiercely Republican city, was seen as a safe and highly supportive stop on the campaign trail for Trump, as he sought to usurp incumbent President Joe Biden. But security was extremely lax. Like Kirk, Trump took to an open-air stage, facing a legion of fans piled into the center of the field. He also had rows of people.
I actually focused on it. He should just said no answer, no comment. That's what he should have said, no comment.
Behind him, little did he know his would-be assassin, 20-year-old engineering student Thomas Matthew Crooks, was lying in wait. Crooks was positioned on the roof of this building here, a warehouse belonging to American Glass Research, or AGR International. This building was located outside the perimeter fence, and, like the Losi Center in Utah, was publicly accessible. Crooks gained access to the roof using the air conditioning unit located in an interior lawn at the AGR facility.
So they didn't show us that. How he know that? They didn't show us how he got on that motherfucking roof. So how was he saying this? I want to see the video of how he got on the roof. If they got a video of him getting off, they should have a video of him getting up that bitch. I want to see it.
Or AGR International. This building was located outside the perimeter fence, and, like the Losi Center in Utah, was publicly accessible. Crooks gained access to the roof using the air conditioning unit located in an interior lawn at the AGR facility here, after a chain of errors by local law enforcement and the Secret Service.
You feel safe?
More on this later. The distance from Crooks's position on the roof and Trump's podium was about 430 feet, or 131 meters. This is almost identical to the range of the lethal shot that killed Charlie Kirk.
Dang.
Just like Kirk's assassin, Crooks had an unobstructed line of sight to the Republican and was shooting down from high ground, albeit with a smaller angle of elevation. And, just like in Utah, the weather was calm, with low winds and blue skies. So, we've established that the conditions for both attacks were almost like for like. Now it's time to compare the attacks themselves. Kirk took to the stage in
nobody
Utah
feels safe
at
right
12
now.
p.m. Mountain Daylight Time to hold a Prove Me Wrong event, where crowd members can challenge the speaker to a short debate on a topic of their choosing. Sitting under this white branded awning, he begins his talk shortly after 12 p.m. At 12:23 p.m., the gunman lying on the roof of the Lucy Center fires a single surgical shot.
Damn.
You can see here how the bullet struck Kirk in the left side of his neck. It left a large entry wound and tore through his vital arteries, causing rapid, catastrophic blood loss that ultimately sealed his fate. Here you can see people carrying Kirk's limp body away from the scene. He was rushed to hospital, but was pronounced dead on arrival. Investigators say the alleged murder weapon is a bolt-action rifle manufactured by Mauser. This is a popular weapon with hunters because it's designed to fire a large projectile at a velocity high enough to cut through the vital organs of a large animal.
Damn.
This rifle is chambered to shoot rounds like these, 7.62. In the US, this specific round is known as a 30-06. 30 refers to the diameter in inches, 0.30. And 06 refers to the year it was adopted by the US Army, 1906. These are large bullets that do a good job of retaining their energy and resisting the impact of wind.
With a chopper bullet.
Let's take another look at the crime scene. At a distance of 130 meters, and with a stable, prone shooting position like this one, any civilian shooter with modest training would likely be able to make a precision shot. This high-velocity bullet would have been traveling at roughly 800 meters a second as it left the barrel of the Mauser, with huge destructive potential. That means it would have taken just 0.16 seconds to reach Kirk 130 meters away. In other words, Kirk didn't stand a chance of surviving. Here is another picture of some 7.62 caliber ammo, this time alongside another widely used kind of bullet, the 5.56. These cartridges are considerably lighter and smaller. That's because they are fired by semi-automatic rifles, commonly referred to as AR-15s or AR pattern rifles. These images, released by the FBI, show the weapon used by would-be assassin Thomas Crooks in his attempt on Trump's life. This is a DPMS A-15. It's modular, light, and easy to assemble and disassemble. It also supports a range of accessories, such as this optical sight. But most importantly, it's designed to sustain a high rate of fire. Unlike the Mauser, which requires its user to manually operate this bolt to load a new cartridge into the firing chamber after each shot, this weapon is capable of firing round after round with each pull of the trigger. Essentially, it trades outright force and power for the ability to deliver multiple hits in quick succession. This is exactly the kind of tactic Crooks used when he opened fire on Trump. He fired 8 shots in a total of just 6 seconds at 6:11 p.m. One of these shots hit its intended target, but as we know, the man who went on to become the 47th President of the United States was left with nothing but a lightly pierced ear. This miraculous escape was put down to a perfectly timed turn of the head, which pulled the contents of his skull out of the path of the bullet at the last moment. Unfortunately, Corey Comparatore, a fireman who was sitting in the crowd behind Trump, was not so lucky. He was killed by one of Crooks's wayward shots.
Oh, shit.
Now, the A-15 rifle may not be fully optimized for accuracy and precision.
I forgot somebody died in a Trump attack. Nobody even talk about that shit.
Like the Mauser, but at 131 meters, pretty much the same range as the Kirk shooting, it is more than capable of highly accurate fire in the hands of a competent gunman. In August 2023, almost a year before his ill-fated assassination attempt on Trump, Crooks took out a membership here, the Clairton Sportsman's Club in Jefferson Hills, Pennsylvania. This club has a rifle range of 200 yards, or 180 meters, more than enough for Crooks to practice for his 131-meter kill shot. Here's an image of the club's logbook, dated May the 22nd, 2024, less than 2 months before the Trump rally on July the 13th. Here, you can see that Thomas Crooks registered for rifle practice. Authorities later discovered Crooks had made more than 40 visits to the Clairton Sportsman's Club in the 12 months leading up to the rally, getting hours and hours of practice. So why did he fail to deliver a kill shot? We'll never know for sure, but there were at least 2 key factors that complicated Crooks's task. First, the geometry of the rooftop. Instead of a flat, rifle-friendly firing platform atop the Lucy Center in Utah, Crooks was shooting at Trump from the far side of a sloped roof, with a ridge in the middle. That roof profile would have made it very awkward to maintain a stable shooting position. Second, pressure. Charlie Kirk was a prominent and divisive figure, but he wasn't running for a stint in the Oval Office. That meant he had a limited security detail, and his assassin faced no armed resistance. Trump, meanwhile, was surrounded by a close personal protection team and Secret Service snipers. There were two sniper teams in particular that posed a serious threat to Crooks. One team, positioned here on the northernmost roof of this barn, were the closest to Crooks, but their view of his spot, on top of the AGR building, was partially obstructed by these trees. Another team, on the southernmost roof, here, had a clear view of Crooks's building, but he was partially concealed below the ridgeline of the sloped roof. Even so, Crooks knew he could have been spotted and engaged at any moment. So it was likely a combination of poor positioning and mental strain, not to mention a healthy amount of dumb luck, that led Crooks to failure. Change a single one of these factors, and Donald Trump's second presidential term may never have materialized. Back in Utah, at 12:23 p.m., the thousands of people watching Charlie Kirk on stage heard a loud crack. Then they saw his lifeless body falling backwards with blood gushing from his neck. The shot triggered pandemonium as almost every single crowd member realized there was an active shooter and ran for their lives. This recording appears to show a figure standing on the roof of the Losi Center moments after the shot. The video cuts out moments later as the attendees run for cover. But they needn't have bothered, because the shooter was running too. Security camera footage showed him running across the roof of the Losi Center at 12:24 p.m., less than a minute after the shot, before hanging down and dropping onto the turf below. If you look closely, he appears to be holding something wrapped in a black cover. This is thought to be the weapon. From there, he hightailed it across this road here, called Campus Drive, and into the wooded area on the other side. This is where investigators are said to have found the Mauser, wrapped up in the bushes. This brings us to the shooter himself. The investigation into Kirk's murder is still ongoing, and it's moving quickly. But this is what we know at the time of the filming. Investigators say their prime suspect for the shooting is Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old from Utah's Washington County. It's not yet clear exactly how he managed to evade law enforcement officials in the wake of the shooting, but he is thought to have driven to his parents' home in Washington, roughly 260 miles from the UVU campus in Orem. Security camera footage taken hours before the shooting showed a grey Dodge Challenger linked to Robinson driving by the campus. That car later appeared to be sitting in a parking lot by the Robinson family home in Washington County here. This is where Tyler was reportedly confronted by his father, Matt Robinson, who recognized his son in these images of the suspect released by the FBI. Tyler is then said to have confessed to his dad. He was finally arrested 33 hours after the shooting, when a family friend alerted the authorities. Utah Governor Spencer Cox told the press that Robinson is refusing to cooperate, but that his friends and family were helping with the investigation. This is a copy of the Utah County Sheriff's Office affidavit related to Robinson's arrest. It laid out 3 initial charges: aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, and obstruction of justice. It also showed Robinson would not be granted bail due to the severity of his alleged crimes. Then, on Tuesday, September the 16th, Robinson was formally charged while being held at the Utah County Jail. Prosecutors added 4 more charges. These included another count of obstruction of justice for disposing of his clothing, and 2 counts of witness tampering related to communication with his roommate, Lance Twiggs. Twiggs is a biological male who is transitioning. They're in a relationship with Robinson. These text exchanges provided to investigators appear to show Robinson confessing.
I don't believe them texts. Them texts is a bunch of bullshit. I don't believe them texts. I ain't gonna lie.
Murder to his partner. Here, Robinson seemingly explains how he hid the rifle after the shooting and wanted to go back to collect it to avoid leaving evidence. It also appears to shed light on a possible motivation for the shooting. Robinson told his transgender partner how he was sick of Kirk's hatred, adding that it can't be negotiated out. And in these final messages, Robinson appears to instruct Twiggs to stay silent. This is what led prosecutors to add charges of witness tampering. Robinson attended his court hearing remotely from Utah County Jail. When asked to state his name, he responded,
Tyler James Robinson.
Those were the only words he said. The dark green sleeveless gown he is wearing is a suicide prevention smock. This is made of thick, tear-resistant material that cannot be rolled or folded into a noose. This prevents its wearer from hanging themselves in their cell. It's also free of any zips, wires, or cords that could be used for self-harming. Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray confirmed he will seek the death penalty if Robinson is convicted. The aftermath of Trump's shooting was chaotic and iconic in equal measure. A split second after Crooks's bullet clipped his ear, Trump raised his hand to the site of the wound. You can see the moment it dawned on him that he was under fire, and he ducked down to avoid the oncoming brass. Secret Service detail then surged onto the stage and threw their bodies between Trump and the shooter. A few moments later, while his security team were trying to hustle him to safety, Trump made the move that arguably won him the presidency. With blood trickling down his ear, he raised a clenched fist high above the agents and began chanting a single word to the crowd: fight. These images instantly immortalized him as a hero in the eyes of his supporters. But by the time Trump started playing to the crowd, events on the roofline had already reached their own violent conclusion. Secret Service sniper teams, already locked onto Thomas Crooks's position atop the AGR building, opened fire. Their shots were precise and deliberate. One of the first rounds struck Crooks's rifle, damaging the buttstock, as you can see here. Crooks was then torn apart by a hail of bullets. This is a copy of his autopsy report. The official cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head. But here, you can read just how destructive the sniper's fire was. Crooks's skull and face were torn apart, with bullets smashing apart his jaw and teeth, tearing through his carotid artery and jugular vein, and ripping through his upper back. Pictures taken at the scene of his death showed a thick trail of blood running down the sloped roof coming from Crooks's corpse. When law enforcement moved in to secure the rooftop, they discovered a radio transmitter on Crooks's body, sparking fears that there could be an explosive device planted at the rally. Fortunately, no bombs were found at the scene. But shortly after midnight, on July 14th, investigators tracked down Crooks's car, parked along Whitestown Road, close to the AGR building from which he shot Trump. This image, taken by the Explosive Ordnance Disposal, or EOD team, shows the contents of Crooks's car. Inside, investigators found an improvised explosive device, or IED, a drone, and an ammunition box filled with an unconfirmed substance with a radio receiver attached to it. This could well have been another explosive. Bomb disposal teams destroyed these devices, and with that, the threat was over. But then came the next question. How was Crooks ever able to get his shots off in the first place? On December 5th, a month after Trump storms to victory in the 2024 presidential race, the House of Representatives issued a report from a task force assembled to investigate this debacle. The results were damning. First, it found that several local law enforcement officers and a sniper from Butler's Emergency Services Unit, or ESU, noticed Crooks acting suspiciously as early as 5 p.m. Then, at 5:10 p.m., another sniper spotted Crooks using a rangefinder. He sent a text message to alert his colleagues at 5:15 p.m. In other words, law enforcement officers and local snipers had both identified Crooks as a possible threat more than an hour before the shooting. They also learned that the threat was likely credible when he pulled out a rangefinder. At 5:38 p.m., one of the Butler snipers sent pictures of Crooks to a group of colleagues and encouraged them to notify Secret Service snipers. A flurry of communication between local law enforcement and the Secret Service followed, yet somehow they lost Crooks. He was able to retrieve his weapon and clamber on top of the AGR building at 6:08 p.m. Finally, between 6:09 and 6:11, a police officer even climbed onto the roof of the AGR building and came face to face with Crooks. At this point, Crooks already had his gun assembled and trained towards the rally. The police officer testified that Crooks pointed the gun at him, causing him to fall off the roof to avoid being shot. He called in the sighting and alerted colleagues via his radio that there was a shooter with a long gun. Yet somehow, nobody was able to stop Crooks from getting shots away, one of which grazed Trump's ear, and another of which killed Corey Comparatore. Unsurprisingly, the task force's conclusion was unambiguous. It found that Crooks's attempted assassination was tragic and preventable, and the litany of related security failures unacceptable. It also argued that lawmakers should seek to address important questions around the motivations of Thomas Crooks and other would-be assassins to prevent such tragic events from reoccurring. Perhaps now, with the ruthless assassination of Charlie Kirk on a university campus, lawmakers might finally sit up and take notice.
Now, all of these are radicals. It don't matter if you're left, right, in the middle. They are radicals, y'all. I'm just saying, y'all, it's crazy that we got 173 votes. 53% of people don't think radicals in national groups need to be targeted. It's crazy. So let me show you what happened when they target. Let's go to this. They don't need to be targeted. William O'Neill. Look how the FBI targeted the Black Panthers using this fuckboy right here. No, this is a conversation. It's a conversation and a lecture. You know, because people are hypocrites. And I'm just showing y'all the hypocrisy in people. It's not everybody. Everybody a hypocrite. Like I said, 47% of people understand this is an issue. Well, at one point in time, the United States government thought the Black Panthers was an issue. But it seems like today, with all this radicalization going on and all these politically motivated killings, like I said, yo, 1,300 people have been killed, have been shot this year. This is 2025. 1,300, 300 murdered. And we don't see no federal indictments. Where's the indictment of the Proud Boys, man? Fuck it. Where's the indictments, man? Where's the COINTELPRO agencies or practices?
And we jumped in the car and stole it.
All right, my bad,
around
Malika.
the city of Chicago for 45 minutes. And just
Hey, Pat. We gotta go back to this again. Why is it propaganda now? When they told y'all that black fathers wasn't taking care of their kids and black mothers was failing, was that propaganda? Why is it propaganda now? That's my question to you. It wasn't propaganda then. Everybody believed it. Pat, you probably still believe it. Did you ever sit back and watch that media coverage and say, yo, this is wrong? Why are they categorizing the whole group of people because of a few? That's not right. They shouldn't be doing that. This is bad journalism. You ain't say that then, did you? I'm saying I'm in the house with my black kids right now. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I've been in my kids' life since the day they was born. From when they was in the hospital all the way up until now. I'm saying that back then, black fathers didn't leave their kids. Black fathers was taken out of the household. That's what I'm saying. It's a total different narrative than they just didn't want to take care of their kids. No, I don't think that was ever the case. I don't think that was ever the case. But y'all agreed with it. Y'all promoted it. Y'all repeated it. It wasn't propaganda then. It wasn't propaganda then. Now, we got this issue with white nationalism and politically motivated attacks. And y'all don't want to say nothing. Y'all don't want to do nothing. But what I'm ready to show y'all is, it was once upon a time in America when the government viewed black nationalist groups or black revolutionaries as the biggest threat on the homeland. They depleted them. They locked them up. They killed them. They ran false campaigns on them. But now we got this issue and we're doing nothing. And y'all don't even want nothing done. Y'all don't want nothing done. Nah, Malika, this ain't long before you was born. I don't know what year you was born, but this wasn't that long ago. This is the 70s.
decided to leave the state, go visit a relative in another state. And we had an accident out of state. And prior to the accident,
if y'all never seen this before, this is William O'Neill. William O'Neill got Fred Hampton killed working with the FBI. William O'Neill thought the FBI was his friend. He thought they shared like a bond. He ain't have no clue that the FBI planned on killing Fred Hampton. He thought he was doing something honorable. But he ended up killing himself because he realized what he made was a mistake. And he wasn't working on the right side of he wasn't on the right side of history. Tried to kill himself several times. Ended up running in the street, got hit by a car. He finally completed his mission. He couldn't live with the regret that he faced by the decisions that he made.
Pool hall. I was shooting pool, and at the door you had to register your phone number and
I know the
address.
FBI director, Jagger Hoover.
We wrote down our names and phone numbers, then went in and shot a game of pool, and then came out and had an accident. We fled the accident on foot. Messed around in the city.
So what he's doing right now is telling y'all how he became a Fed informant. But what I'm saying is, yo, won't we divert? What's up, sunshine, baby? What I'm saying is, I think we need to get, we might need another COINTELPRO with these nationalist groups, so we can stop this political carnage. Yo, we got kids running up in schools. You know what I mean? Yo, people are homeschooling their kids because of they scared that a kid one day might be radicalized and run into the building and hurt innocent people. And we ain't doing nothing about it. Nothing about it at all. And the same people that praise what they did to black people with mass incarceration and shit aren't having that same energy towards this. And I just think that's hypocritical. I think that's very hypocritical, y'all.
Well, and then caught a bus back to Chicago. And about 3-4 months later, I got a call from this FBI agent by the name of Roy Mitchell. And he told me that he knew what I had done. And we went around a couple of times, and he said something like, well, there's no need in you trying to bullshit me. I know you did it, but it's no big thing. He said, I'm sure we can work it out. And I think a few months passed before I heard from him again. And one day I got a call, and he told me that...
That's true, Dr. Daughter. People also homeschool their kids because they don't want them indoctrinated or groomed. That's a fact, too.
It was payback time. He said that I want you to go and see if you can join the Black Panther Party, and if you can, give me a call.
Can I just interrupt with him to start that part about joining the Panther Party? But tell me again how old you were and that it was not even that it was FBI agent?
I think I was about 18, 19 years old. And the FBI agent's name was Roy Mitchell. And he called me up on the phone and recanted the crime, pretty much. I tried to deny it, but he had the evidence, and he said basically it was no problem, that we could work it out, that I wasn't in any serious problems that he couldn't deal with. And a few months, 3 months maybe passed before he asked me to join the Black Panther Party.
Now, what did Mitchell ask you to do?
Yeah, I'm talking about all of them. I'm talking about all of them. Just Max, are you going to act like they don't exist? Are you going to act like there's not far-right extremists and far-left extremists? We're not going to be dumb over here, man. We ain't got to name names. The FBI should know. That's why they got investigators. Investigate. Figure out who the fuck they is. And target them.
Well,
just like they did them.
He didn't give me any specific instructions at that point. He just said...
You say instead of he.
Roy said, basically, just go and see if you can join the Black Panther Party. I understand they're recruiting Panther members. So why don't you go down to the office and see if you can join. If you get in, give me a call back. So the next day, I got on the bus and went down to the office of the Black Panther Party. It was located on Western and Madison. And walked in the office, about 3 or 4 Panthers in the office. And I think I was about the 5th member in the Chicago chapter to join. They had this big office building on this, and up on the 2nd floor they had about 5 or 6 offices, and very little personnel to run things. So positions, it was easy to get a position. So they appointed me as a security captain. That was the first time I met Fred Hampton, and he was the chairman, the spokesman for the party, and Bobby Rush was the Minister of Defense. He was Huey P. Newton's deputy, which was a top man in the state of Illinois at that time.
What did you think about the Panthers at that time?
Aryan Republican Army,
Did you understand them?
Council of Conservative Citizens, Euro, it's a lot of them. Pacifica Forum, Patriot Front. It's a lot of white nationalist groups, man. Don't act like they don't exist, man.
What did you thought about the civil rights movement? How did they fit into your understanding of politics
I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood, and I had very little idea of I was apolitical.
Neo-Nazis?
I had heard of only from a recent article, I think, that had occurred in the paper. Huey P. Newton had just been in a shootout with the Oakland Police Department, and one of them had died.
The Christian Identity Movement?
There was a lot of press about that. But prior to the
Alt-right?
articles I had read about Huey P. Newton, I knew nothing of the Black Panther Party. In fact, the day I joined, I was pretty sure it was just another gang, not unlike the Blackstone Rangers or the Cobras or something. I had no idea of anything about their politics.
What did you begin to learn as you did join, and what kind of information were you able to give back to Mitchell?
Well, almost immediately after I joined the Panthers, probably within 10 days, I began to realize that the Black Panther Party was a little bit more sophisticated.
But just Max, everybody can't admit that. This ain't for the people that can be honest. You know, this is for the people that's not living in reality. You know, this is for the people that's living in a bubble. You know, it's people that can't look at the Panthers and what was done to the Panthers and say, oh, that shit was fucked up. Because there's way more groups. There's groups out here in America, yo, that's way more deadly. Way more deadly. Pushing dangerous narratives and ideologies. Committing crimes. And it's going unnoticed. Meanwhile, you had the Panthers that was trying to do something honorable. Yeah, they had instances where they shot it out with the police. Yeah, but that wasn't everybody. That wasn't everybody. And what happens in America is we like to lump everybody together and make them the target. But it seems to me they only does that when it's black people. When it's black people, we make everybody the target. When it's not black people, now we want to be specific and particular, and we want to say things like, you know, you shouldn't make you shouldn't lump everyone together. And it's like, what you mean? This is what we always did in America. Like, I don't understand what's the problem. We always lumped everybody together and say these are the people to target. Now, since it's white people committing these heinous crimes, now we want to look at them as individuals. No, that's an individual act. No, hell no. How many more individual acts? Like, that's what a RICO charge is. You know, RICO is everybody committing crimes. A lot of times, you know, you got somebody at the head, then you got little branches where, you know, a couple guys doing this and doing that, and it's to further the game. It's to further the cause. And they all get arrested and they get brought in on RICO charges. Where's the RICO for these alt-rights and these far-left groups? Where's the RICO? I just want a RICO, y'all. Just one or two. You know what I mean? Just to show that we ain't playing. Antifa, one of them. Antifa, far right. Far left. Black Lives Matter, far left. Where's the RICO charges, man? It's the issue. I'm just saying, don't stop now.
A gang. The orientation process, the attention they gave to the political climate around the country had me going there for a while. And at one point, well,
And also, if you can look at me.
yeah, okay. They had, I think the first set of reference books I saw inside the Black Panther Party was the selected works of Mao Zedong, which I had begun to associate with communism. And it wasn't too long thereafter that I started seeing books like the Manifesto, the Communist Manifesto of Karl Marx, and then the collected works of Lenin. And every night after the office would close, the Panthers would sit down and they would study these books. We'd go through political orientation. We would read certain paragraphs, and then Fred Hampton and Rush would explain to us, the new membership, basically what it meant and what was happening, and they drew parallels to what was going on in the past revolutions in the various countries, like, for instance, China or Russia, and it was drawing parallels to what was going on in the current political scene within the United States. So they were drawing associations between the revolutions in the communist countries, as I understood it, as to what was happening in the United States, and so I understood them to be a little bit more sophisticated than a gang. I expected that it would be weapons and we would be out there doing turf battles with the local gang members, but they weren't about that at all. They were into the political scene, the war in Vietnam, Richard Nixon.
That's all, yo. And that's all. I just want one press conference, one speech, a law passed. I just want something, yo. Just to let me know that, yo, we living in a fair country. You know what I mean? Just to let me know that, yo, we really back the blue over here. You know, we really tough on crime. That's it. And that's all. And I don't think I'm asking for too much. I don't think I'm wrong in that sense. Yeah, they is. That's the fuck they is. Who told you that? I guarantee if we was to really do a real history, not the shit that they give us, but a real history on them people, man, they came straight from politics. What's the odds that they wear red and blue? Yo, the streets is an offspring from politics, y'all. That's, you know, you in the streets, you say it's politics in the streets. The streets is an offspring of politics. That's what it is. Politics came first, y'all. Remember that. Politics came before the streets. The streets was created.
Specifically, freeing Huey. Yeah, that was a thing.
Now, you would, I assume, report this information back to Mitchell. Did he have a response? Did he react to this?
Well, initially, Agent Mitchell requested very little information from me. It was a one-way street for probably about 6 months. I think he was, in every meeting that I had with him, he listened more than he asked questions. The typical meeting would be, okay, what are they doing today? And then I would just tell him what was going on around the office in general conversation. He said, okay, and what are you doing? And then I'd tell him what I was doing, and then he'd make mental notes. Sometimes he took shorthand notes, and then we'd depart. He said, okay, just keep me informed. And so we had a very loose relationship at that point because the Panthers weren't too active militarily, okay? They were politically organizing at that point. They were recruiting. At that point, the Panthers were trying to, they had speaking engagements at the different colleges and so forth. So we were in an organizing process. And there was very little criminal activity, as I could determine what's going on. Very little to report.
I don't know, y'all, but that's a different issue. Yo, why we can't solve multiple problems at once? Yo, we've been trying to solve that issue for the longest time. Yo, you don't think it's time to, at least Try to solve other problems that's haunting the United States. Like, yo, why is that y'all we go to? Okay, people dying in Chicago, people dying in Utah, people dying everywhere, man. It ain't just Chicago, it ain't just Baltimore, it ain't just Detroit, it ain't just that. Yo, white on white crime is a problem right now. Just Max. White on white crime is a problem. It's on the rise. Why are you not focusing on that? Why are you so focused on what's going on in the black community? Why is that your focus? And why aren't you focused on white crime? Why aren't you focused on white radicals? Because they live next to you. You know what I mean? That is your biggest enemy. That's the biggest threat to you right now. Not who's being killed in Chicago. Black people killing other black people isn't your biggest threat right now. Just Max. It's white radicals. Now you can choose to ignore it. Act like it don't exist, but that don't change the facts. That don't change the facts.
Report to the FBI, in my mind, because I felt like since the FBI was an investigative body investigating federal crimes, that crimes were what they were looking at, and so.
Tell me a little bit about how you felt about working for the FBI. What motivated you, and what you thought, what ends you thought you were serving?
Well, in my community, the policemen were, it was the quickest way to gain respect. I think I grew up wanting to be a policeman, admiring and respecting policemen, although I always thought it was outside of my reach. My neighborhood was not unlike most people that grow up in Chicago. Most young people, we were very mischievous and did a lot of juvenile type, petty criminal type things, but stealing a car and all of a sudden having the FBI, having a case with the FBI that thought of really going to jail got my attention. And so when he asked me to join the Black Panther Party, and he used terms, he never used the word informant. He always said, "You're working for me." And I associated him as the FBI. So all of a sudden, I was working for the FBI, which in my mind at that point, I associated with being an FBI agent. So I felt good about it. I felt like I was working undercover for the FBI, doing something good for the finest police organization in America. And so I was pretty proud.
Yeah, great.
Thank you, Max.
Okay.
30.
Now let's get to when he started.
Camera roll number 3080.
Basically was the agenda of the Black Panther Party. I was given a staff of security people, and then I just advanced from that point on.
What were the major developments during that year of the Panther Party as you saw it? Was it the programs? Was it the alliances that the party was building? What was the Panther agenda as you came to understand it?
To free Huey, basically was the agenda of the Black Panther Party all along. Let it be no mistake, Huey P. Newton was locked down. The Black Panther Party was Huey P. Newton, and Huey P. Newton was the Black Panther Party. And no matter how powerful or strong our membership got in the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party, no matter how many speaking engagements Hampton had, or how many donations we had, or how many papers, there was always a national office out there to remind us that we were subservient to the national office, that we were just a chapter and we weren't the Illinois Black Panther Party, that we was the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party. And their goals at that point was to free their leader, who was locked down in Alameda County Jail, facing the death penalty for killing a police officer. The party recognized that at that point that they needed liaisons, they needed alliances with various groups in order to survive, basically in the climate in Chicago. So they embraced the various political issues that was of the day. They got involved in all types of causes, mainly to fortify their position and to free their leader, Huey P. Newton. And he was effectively running the Black Panther Party from inside of the jails. Most of our political direction was mandated, came out through his lawyers, and was passed on nationally through the chapters. It was Huey Speaks.
Stop it now.
Okay. You tell me about how things changed as the
Well, I said from February 1969, the activities within the party was high speed. We were in our bloom. We had about 500 members. We were selling probably about 25,000 newspapers in the city of Chicago every week, of the Panther newspaper, that is. We had various members of our party, of the Black Panther Party, going to the colleges all over the state, speaking engagements. Donations were coming in to the tune of about $1,500, $2,000 a day. But at the same time, the Chicago police had stepped up their activities also. A lot of the members were being arrested on petty charges. So the money we were bringing in on the one hand in donations, money that came through the mail anonymously, blank checks and money orders, was going right out in bail money. So it was intense. And in that regard, the Black Panther Party was everywhere and doing everything. We had 500 members and everybody was aggressive. And it was hard for me to report on all of the activities that were occurring. I could only concentrate on what my little group was doing. I was...
I don't support Black Lives Matter. Hey, Piper, we talking about white on white crime, yo. I think y'all need to worry about that. I think y'all need to be focused on white radicalism. You know, because those are your neighbors. You know what I mean? Those are the people that you need to worry about. I think y'all worrying about what's going on in the black community has damn near no effect on your life, your livelihood, or anything of that nature. But this shit that's going on in the political realm, and these school shooters and these white radicals, these white nationals, left or right, is something that you need to worry about. I honestly think that y'all are failing, you know. Y'all, come on, we ain't doing no go Bills. We ain't doing go Bills. We gonna fuck y'all up in the playoffs. We'll see y'all again. But I think, yeah, y'all need to worry about that, man. I think that's the issue. I think y'all need to focus on that and try to get to the bottom of it. I think it's a parenting issue. I think maybe it may be neglect. You know, maybe, I don't know, maybe y'all neglecting y'all kids. I don't know. But I think it needs some attention. We're not talking about us. Hell yeah, I'm just as serious as they was when they were saying that black fathers ain't raised their kids. Man, fuck yeah. You don't think so? You don't think so? Man, you crazy, man, if you don't think so, man. Shit. Man, Charlie Kirk got sniped from a roof with a sniper rifle from 2 football fields away. You don't think that's something to worry about? Motherfucker tried to assassinate Donald Trump, the president. You don't think that's something you need to worry about? Shit, man, y'all crazy motherfucker. That little 16-year-old that ran up in that school in Colorado, that wasn't the government. That happened the same day Charlie Kirk was murdered. That guy that just shot 5 police and killed 3 in York, Pennsylvania, that wasn't the government. Government ain't do that either. You know what I mean? Like, y'all want to sit back and keep trying to point to, yo, crime is crime. But just like we can make up false stories and create narratives, just like they can create narratives, we can create them bitches too. You know what I mean? Why was it okay for them to create narratives, but it ain't okay for narratives to get put on y'all like they put on us. I don't understand what's the difference. False narrative is a false narrative, regardless of who's saying it. But y'all believed it when it was on us. But now I'm putting it back on y'all. Y'all don't want to believe it. That's crazy, y'all. Hey, just Pink, do you know 54% of the mass shootings are done by white people? We can go to statistics too. Did you know that? Did you know United States has more school shootings than any other country in this world, even Mexico? Do you know that it was 228 school shootings in America this year? 228. It was only 8 in Mexico. And they like to paint Mexico as a lawless country, a lawless place. There's only 4 in Nigeria. Look it up if you think I'm lying. We looked it up yesterday. Go to the live from yesterday if you think I'm bullshit. Yeah, see, y'all don't want to see. Y'all want to talk numbers, but only want to talk numbers when it's not beneficial. I mean, when it's beneficial. It's crazy.
As security captain, I was in what was called the defense cadre. It was technically under Bobby Rush's command because he was the deputy minister of defense, and then during that year we considered we were in a state of war. Our leader was locked down. The police was attacking offices all over the country. They was trying to break us financially through bail. And so the minister of defense takes over in a situation like that. Fred Hampton was in charge mainly with speaking engagements, public relations, reaching the people, recruiting, and things of that nature. He was the chief spokesman. He was the one that the cameras saw all the time. But Bobby Rush and our group was the operations. We were activities at that point. It was our job to defend the offices against the police, to get members out of jail, to discipline the members, to kind of, maintain the police control of the organization, to deal with informants and so forth.
Now, as the party was growing, though, what was Mitchell starting to ask you about, or how was your relationship with Mitchell changing?
Well, Mitchell was part of a squad, in my opinion, of about 5 or 10 agents, and each one of them had their little, had their little activities within the Black Panther Party. Mitchell's questions were defined mainly to my area. He never asked me how many newspapers that someone else was selling, or who got the catalogs for the Breakfast for Children program, or who's going to open up the medical center. He wasn't concerned with that. He was concerned with my activities in the Panthers, which at that point was exclusively security issues. We were buying weapons at that point. We didn't have any type of working relationship with the largest street gang at that time, which was the Black Stone Rangers. They had about 2,000 members and were well armed. And at some point, a meeting was arranged. We met with Jeff Fort of the Black Stone Rangers, and at that meeting, we were in a Catholic church. I remember that night we were setting up, and Jeff Fort told Fred Hampton there is not going to be any Black Panthers in the city of Chicago. You guys either join the Black Stone Rangers or get out of the city. And Hampton came away from that meeting feeling like we were going to eventually have to do battle with these guys. There was no compromise. They couldn't associate, the Blackstone Rangers couldn't associate our purpose politically with their gang turf thing. So we were going to have to deal with them. So the word went out to me to basically start buying weapons. We also knew that the state's attorney had declared war on us, and pretty soon we were going to face a raid in one of our offices. And the mentality at that time was that we know it's coming. Our job is to set an example for the people. We must be ready. And so we started fortifying the offices and buying guns and training our soldiers, the security people.
I want to talk now about the events. Oh, all right. Let's just stop now. Yes.
Stop now? Yes. You want to know, right now you're focused on why I went to The first connection. Okay.
He'd stolen the car, and he called you back and told you.
Okay.
He could get you off the hook if.
Okay. Well, he didn't say that, but okay. Well, am I ready now? Well, simply, I stole a car and took it across the state line. The FBI had a case on me. They could either prosecute me and put me in jail or decline to prosecute because I assisted them in one of their investigations. I think I understood that. So the day he called and asked me to join the Black Panther Party, I understood what my role was to be. And that's what I did. Is it good enough? Mitchell, okay. Okay, it's simple. I stole a car and went across the state line, which violated federal law. Mitchell, agent from the FBI, had a case on me. He had a choice of either prosecuting me and sending me to jail or declining to prosecute as a result of me aiding him in another case. And I decided to take the latter. When he asked me to join the Black Panther Party, I did so, and I understood what my role was to be.
We didn't quite catch it, I think, but
That's a roll. Well, we can do it again.
tell me about it, and tell me again, which is an FBI agent.
Well, a typical meeting between my FBI contact, Mitchell, would be downtown Chicago at 12 noon, down in the basement of at some bar, some dark bar, and I would meet him at the bar. He'd be there when I got in there, and he'd have a drink, and I'd have a drink, and we'd sit there and talk for 15 or 20 minutes, and it was very casual. I mean, it was like I'd come in, and he said, "Oh, what you up to?" And then I'd say, "Well, I'm going down to Champaign on a speaking engagement with Fred, and I'm taking such and such with me, and we're carrying guns, and we're driving this car." And I just rattle it off. 10 or 15 minutes, I'd tell him everything I knew. And he didn't have to say very much, because when I joined the Black Panther Party, most of the information that I was giving him at that time was new information to him. So as I grew inside of the party and began to learn things, he grew also. So he knew the members better than I did. We talk about the girlfriends and who was, pregnant and who had a venereal disease, and this was just casual conversation between he and I. He wasn't always writing. What he put in his files, I still don't have the benefit of, but I know after a while he and I became friends. And we talked in casual conversation about what I was doing in the Black Panther Party. Well, the whole nature of that relationship changed right around maybe November 13, when 2 police officers were killed by a Black Panther member named Jake Winters on the south side of Chicago. That night, as I understand the gun battle, Jake Winters straddled one of the officers who were wounded in the shootout and performed a coup de grace, a mercy killing. He straddled the officer after the officer was down and put a shotgun to his head and put him out of his misery. Or at least that's the way the newspaper described it. And I think the whole city, I think the Black Panthers took the rap for that one when they really didn't deserve it. Because Jake Winters was out there on his own. He wasn't out there on any official mission for the Black Panther Party. He was out there on his own, and he got into a altercation with a guy, and the guy called the police, and the police came, and the shootout broke out, and 2 police officers were killed, and Jake Winters were killed. Well, the Panthers took the heat because Jake Winters was a Black Panther. And past that point, I noticed maybe a couple of days after this officer was killed, Mitchell had this grim, solemn atmosphere about himself, and I could tell he was looking for he wanted specific criminal violations. He wanted something that he could move on, and I think he may have implied or even expressed that at 1 or 2 points. He expressed his anger over what had happened, the total disregard for life, and that was the first time I ever saw him express his personal opinion about what he thought the Black Panthers were doing.
And one of get you focused now. It's November 1969. Can you describe to me the kind of information you were giving Mitchell about what was going on?
Well, he started, Mitchell became more specific during that time. He wanted to know the locations of weapons caches. He wanted to know if we had explosives. He needed to know who was staying at what locations, who spent the night where. His information didn't change so much as he requested more detail, and I knew why. The shootout on the South Side had pretty much laid the foundation within the party, within the Black Panthers. We knew that the police would react some type of way. We could just feel the stepped up surveillance. We could feel the pressure all the way around, and we knew something bad was going to happen, and I think we were all prepared for it. During that time, Fred was conducting quite a few speaking engagements, but even his attitude had changed somewhat within the Black Panther Party. He was becoming more reluctant to speaking engagements, to making those outward appearances. He became more reserved, more protective of himself. He very seldom traveled anywhere by himself, and he began taking 5 and 6 bodyguards with him. And so he felt it also. Also, he felt like he was going to prison. He was pretty sure that the robbery conviction was going to take him out of the game. So he started preparing other members to take his role.
Yeah, he a clown. I can't stand his ass. Hey, yo, what the fuck is you doing?
Pretty much.
Yo, what are you doing, bro? Come here and slap. Yo, you mean whip your ass, bro?
On Monroe Street. And there are FBI memos that I've
Yo,
seen.
keep your mouth off my shit, yo.
But the implication was always good that some of the information came from you on reports about weapons being at Monroe Street.
What was his name? Hold on. Let me make sure he ain't break my fucking cord. All right.
Did you give that information?
Yo, YouTube be doing that, Max. YouTube be censoring comments. I don't be doing it.
Well, I routinely supplied whatever floor plans or diagrams I could to the FBI. That started in June 1969. I mean, they had a floor plan and keys to the Black Panther headquarters. The specific apartment on Monroe, I supplied that floor plan. Perhaps not the one you saw, but I do remember meeting with Mitchell at one point and drawing up a diagram of the apartment. The one I've seen in court, that was a little bit more fine-tuned than the one that I, drew.
Describe to me the meeting where you remember giving information.
Well, the meeting was not unlike the other meetings we had had. It was always at the same location, was always during the daytime, and it was routine. Here again, in my mind, I knew that a raid was being planned. In my mind, I knew it. I knew also from the type of information that it would be probably a top raid, meaning the leader, from one of the leader's apartments. I also knew that the most vulnerable spot was Hampton's house, because it was the one that had all the weapons in it. It was the one with the weapons. Very few of the other apartments had the kind of weapons he had at that apartment. So when he asked me for the diagram, it didn't surprise me. I knew the raid was going to be planned. I felt like at that point, what they wanted to do was catch him with weapons and seal his conviction. If he'd have been caught with the weapons out on appeal, he would have went straight to jail. And I can't recall it.
What's up, Cannon? For the people that's confused why we watching this, right? Because we got a problem with white nationalists in this country that's going unaddressed. And Once upon a time in America, yo, when something was deemed an issue or a revolutionary group or a radical group, yo, we put extensive amount of resources, surveillance, informants. You know, we crack down on these people. And I want to see this. I want a repeat of this. You know what I mean? I want a repeat of this, y'all. These nationalist groups, these radical groups, has done way more damage than the Black Panthers could have ever done. And yet, we have still not had this type of surveillance on these groups. Do y'all hear what they're doing? You know what I mean? Did you see what the FBI did, yo? The amount of time, money, and effort they put into destroying the Black Panthers? All right groups, all left. They did a lot, bro. They did a lot. Just Max, stop living in denial. I just want to see a repeat of this. So for people that didn't know what they did, this is what I'm expecting from, you know, the climate of America that we in today. You know, for the nationalist groups that's causing all this terror. I want this type of investigation done, man. A complete destruction of these groups because they're causing terror on the people of this country.
Expressed, I can't recall any specific conversations I've had with Mitchell about the raid, but we had such a unity of mind, so to speak. Our efforts were basically one. I understood what was going on. He didn't have to tell me. He described to me going to the funeral of 2 police officers that got killed, and I knew he was. I knew he was hurt by that.
Sure, for dead boy, for us.
And I knew he was going to do what he could to help the police department do something about it.
The night of December, I'm sorry, will you stop for a second?
Yes,
How were you paid and how much were you paid?
Generally, I was paid in cash, and normal amounts would have ranged from $300 to $500, depending on my needs. If I requested a specific amount.
What are you talking about, Max? I just told you a 16-year-old just ran up in the school and killed and shot 2 kids, man. Dylan Roof ran up in the church and killed 9 innocent black people. Like, what are you talking about? Yo, what world are you not living in reality? Go back and watch one of the videos a couple days ago. I showed you exactly what they've been doing.
I knew that I could get it, but the payments were very infrequent. I mean, Agent Mitchell determined early on in the game that spending money was the quickest way to blow your cover. Also, I was living in the Panther environment. I was living in a Panther house, which they called a crib. I was eating with them and sleeping with them, and I was with them 24 hours a day, so I had very little need for money. So I was always assured that my money was being held in trust and that I could draw from it, draw down on it anytime I got ready or anytime I had a legitimate need that wouldn't compromise my security. I suppose at any point if I needed $1,000 or $2,000 from the FBI, I couldn't have gotten it.
How often did you meet with Mitchell?
Depending on my travel schedule, and later on within the Black Panther Party, I was traveling around a lot as a bodyguard to Hampton and so forth, and everywhere he went, I went. So the meetings became infrequent as the activities picked up. Normally once a week. In the fall of 1969, it had gotten down to about once a week. And past that point, it was just telephonic contact. Yes.
Mr. Bogout?
Talk me through the events of the evening of December the 3rd, what you did, where you were.
December 3rd. It was cold that day. It was really a slow day. We were at the office. Hampton was there. Rush was there. The general staff was there. It wasn't too much activity going on streetwise because the weather was so cold. It's a melancholy kind of day. It just came and went. got down to the evening, we all decided to walk the block from the office to Hampton's house and eat dinner. The women were cooking dinner, a big dinner, I think we had chili and big pot of spaghetti, and most of us that had labored at the office were looking forward to just going over there and eating dinner and reading and just being together. It was just a slow day. It was the last day it was the last type of day where we think that anything was going to happen. It was just too quiet. Nothing was happening.
Hey, just Max, yo, this shit been a problem for 20 years. Like, yo, this ain't, why you act like this nothing new? Like, what, you must, yo, you know a lot about what's going on in the black community, but it seems like you are completely dumbfounded of what's going on outside your window. Like, what are you talking about, man? We had a whole Sandy Hook. Like, we had many. Like, it's so many, I can't even count them all. But of these mass shootings done by radicals. Like, come on, don't play stupid, man. Don't play stupid.
Totally off guard.
There are conflicting autopsy reports that Fred Hampton may or may not have been drugged. There are stories
They might need
about
to time
whether or
out
not
for
he
food.
brought Fred Hampton food or drink. Do you have any information about whether he was drugged?
Fred Hampton drugged.
Make sure you subscribe to
I've
the
never
channel.
known Fred. I knew him for about
We covering this the whole month of September. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, man.
16 months. I've been with him in a lot of different situations.
We dedicating the whole month to white on white violence. Yeah, man. I think we done dedicated 30 years on black crime. I think it's cool that we can dedicate a month to white on white violence.
Been in hotels together.
Yeah, hit the cash app.
We've been out, he and I alone in the car. I've never known Fred to take drugs. And to take it a step further, Fred would not tolerate anyone even smoking marijuana around him. And I don't think any of us in the hierarchy of the Black Panther Party would dare get drunk or drink. So alcohols and drugs were a no-no. As far as the rumors that he was drugged that night, unless he was on some type of medication, I think it was just rhetoric. I think it was fabricated. As far as the insinuation that myself or someone else in the house would have drugged Fred Hampton.
A land worker, gardener of soul. We always targeted groups. I just don't understand why we're not doing that anymore. You know, they said it was effective. You know, they dismantled the Black Panthers. They dismantled Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. We always targeted groups. But it's like, it's starting to seem like we only target black groups. The Bloods, the Crips, like, why we aren't targeting none of these white nationalist groups? And why aren't certain white people, not everybody, but why isn't that certain white people don't have this same energy? You know, when they was targeting black groups, they was all for it. They loved it. They applauded it. Good police work. Back the blue. But now, crickets. Listen to them. Y'all hear the crickets? that's what we getting there. We getting fucking crickets, man. Don't nobody want to do nothing. That shit is crazy.
I don't buy it. There was just no way. Fred was the type of person that you didn't have to drug anyway. Fred was always tired. He could get in a car and we couldn't ride 2 blocks without him dozing off. I mean, he just...
He wild this shit. Yo, when I first watched this shit, this fucking interview pissed me off so much. Yeah, because, he did damage with this, man. He killed himself, Kenneth. He couldn't live with what he did. He couldn't live with what he did, yo. He tried to kill himself several times and succeeded. Or one of them times he ran out and got hit by a car. Yeah, like he ain't no us. He know it wasn't us. You can look in his eyes. He don't look like a person that's happy. That man's soul, he lost his soul, man. Look at him, man. You really participate in the demise of your own people. But the funniest part, the most saddest part about this is he thought these guys was his friends, but they backdoored him. So he thought that they was just trying to arrest Fred Hampton. That's what he thought. We talking about the government. He thought they was trying to arrest Fred Hampton. Man, they wanted to kill Fred Hampton, man.
Person that ran on very little fuel, and wherever he sat down, he was well rested. I've never believed that. I mean,
In the days prior to December 3rd, had you given Mitchell specific information about weapons that were at the Warren Street Park?
I bet.
Well, I can recall we had a couple of conversations, but where I told him basically what was in various apartments, and the apartment on Monroe was not unlike the office and so forth. He had a running knowledge pretty much of where the weapons were, what weapons were there, and so forth. I can recall probably around the second or third verifying that certain weapons were still as previously reported. Yeah, I can recall having a conversation or two about weapons.
How did you learn about the police raid on Monroe Street Park?
Well, the following day, I went directly to the office, and the office was empty, unusually empty. It was one girl sitting behind the desk, and she was on the phone, and there was just no people there. And I walked in, I guess it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I walked in, and I was waiting on her to get off the phone to ask, what was up. And I saw a copy of Sun-Times laying there and had his picture on there and had Panther leader slain on it. And boy, I felt bad. I felt just, and I remember walking out of the office and looking through a little clearing over on the next block, which was right in front of the Monroe Street address, and seeing a lot of police cars over there. And at that time, Bobby Rush came to the office. He had just come from over there, or maybe the coroner's office. In any case, we walked back over there, and we both were speechless. We just walked through the house and saw what had taken place and where he died, and it was shocking. That was well, that was.
This guy's a piece of shit.
I think it was that morning that I began to feel that I felt really. Everything that I had done flashed before me. I began to put it all together, pretty much.
They backdoored this dumbass. I can't believe this. I can't believe he's this fucking stupid. Yo got pulled over on a petty charge, was scared to go to jail, and decided to take down the whole fucking organization. So I need to slap the shit out of I hope somebody slapped him before he ran outside and got hit by a car. Because he's a bitch. He thought that they was going to warn him before the raids. It's like, what the fuck? Yo thought he was a police officer. Yo thought he was an honorary cop. Stupid ass.
I couldn't believe it. It was just shocking. And that he had died.
What did you begin to put together?
The information, the information leading up to the raid, the attitudes, and the whole thing. You just felt it in the wind. You knew something bad was going to happen. I felt like it would be a raid. I knew it would be a raid. 2 police officers had got killed. I knew it would be a raid, but I didn't feel like anyone would get killed, especially not Fred. So I was shocked. I felt a little. I didn't feel like I had done anything. I didn't walk in there with guns. I didn't shoot him. FBI didn't.
Nah, I can believe it.
I felt somewhat like I was betrayed. I felt like if anyone should have known it was going to be a raid that morning, I should have known also.
Yeah, why the fuck? Yeah, I can't believe he's this fucking stupid. I'd have been mad shit if he was my father. I wouldn't even claim his ass. Why the fuck you should have known? You know what I'm saying? You know, if anybody said, I should have. Why would they tell you? They would just use a pawn. The fuck, they give a fuck about you, for real. You could have got killed in that raid. They wouldn't even give you no police burial. Stupid ass.
Like I could have been caught in that raid. I was there that night, and I felt like if I'd have laid down, I probably would have been a victim. So I felt betrayed. I felt like I was expendable. I felt like perhaps I was on the wrong side. Yeah, I had my misgivings. I'm not gonna sit here now and take the responsibility for the raid. You know, I'm not gonna do that. I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't issue the warrant.
Bitch, you did issue the warrant.
I didn't put the guns in the apartment. So I'm not gonna take the responsibility for that. But I do feel like I was betrayed. I felt like I should have known the raid was coming down. I felt like it was probably excessive. Yeah, I felt like it was a surgical strike, you know. And I was real angry for quite a few days. I refused to
for real.
have any contact with Roy Mitchell at that point. But I think he pretty much understood too. We got together and had a few drinks, and he didn't take any responsibility for it either. He said basically he didn't know it was going to occur.
Yeah, they killed that man
which
while
at that point was hard for me to believe.
They killed that man while he was asleep, man. That man was sleeping in bed with a girl. They ran in that bitch and murdered that man. Oh my God.
I just began to understand basically how serious and deadly the game we had all been playing for 16 months. The reality of what we were doing just came to bear on us that morning. I think the membership was automatically decreased by 300 members that never showed up again when that happened. I think that all of our enemies, all of the Black Panther Party's enemies came out of the woodwork to capitalize on the situation. Bobby Rush was angry for quite a few days about all of the national leaders that showed up to lend support to the Black Panthers, who wouldn't sit down and have a conference with him early in the game. All of those people that showed up at Freddie Hampton's funeral and looked over his coffin didn't give him 10 minutes of their time when he was alive.
Yes, stop now.
My recruitment by the FBI was very efficient, very simple, really. I'd stolen a car and went joyriding over the state limit, and they had a potential case against me, and I was looking for an opportunity to work it off. And a couple of months later, that opportunity came when FBI agent Roy Mitchell asked me to go down to the local office of the Black Panther Party and try to gain membership. I did so and became a member of the Black Panther Party.
Were you aware specifically, Mitchell, of a program called COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program?
At the time, no. I had no idea of any national program out there.
I'm just showing y'all. Look at the time, the money, and the resource that they put into this shit, man. I want the same time, energy, and resources put into white radicals. You know what I mean? The same time, energy, and resources put into white radicalization, man. Indictments, false prosecution, things like that, things that was done to us. I think it's time to focus more on, these super predators, like Hillary Clinton likes to say. I mean, these motherfuckers are super predators, man. Many of them is beyond the pale, like Biden said. Something like that done.
No idea. In retrospect, I have determined from the type of information that I probably contributed greatly to it.
You told the story before, I'd just like to have you repeat it about Mitchell telling you that other agents give him information and how they made, you know how you were being checked out.
Well, I think early on in the game, he let me know that the information, most of the information that I was supplying him was information he had already, or had been developed by his squad already. He kind of indicated that the information I was supplying was being cross-referenced with other informants. So I always felt like it was best to tell the truth in talking to him because he had his own methods. There's very little information that I gave him that he seemed surprised of. Okay? I just assume the FBI is not the FBI for nothing,
Once again, I want to ask you about your feelings.
And the crazy thing about this, y'all, they didn't do this shit just to the Black Panthers. They did this shit to every black group. like you understand what I'm saying? Like, this wasn't just, a counterintelligence program directly aimed at the Black Panthers. They did this shit to everybody. You got the other snitch talking about how he infiltrated the writer's workshop. A fucking workshop for black people, for black kids. The man burnt the shit down, man. He burnt it down. Like, this was crazy, y'all. I'm just saying, yo, why we stop? I mean, I just think that we got a problem in this country that needs to be addressed ferociously. You know what I mean? I'm talking about the fullest extent of the law, man. Because black people don't feel safe. White people don't feel safe. We're living in probably the most unsafe times in America.
Fred Hampton's death or walking the apartment with Bobby Rush.
I can't do it again. I just can't. It won't jail.
As you went to the office that morning and you saw the headline and then it hit you.
Well, it didn't really hit me then. It hit me after I walked into that house. It was cold and it was blood everywhere and it was holes in the wall and then I was, I just began to realize that the information that I supplied leading up to that moment had facilitated that raid. I knew that indirectly I had contributed.
Indirectly.
And I felt it, and I felt bad about it.
That's why I tell you, that's why I tell you gotta watch the rat. Yo, snitches don't take accountability, man. Yo said indirectly. Fuck. This guy's crazy.
And I got mad. I had... and then I had to conceal those feelings, which made it worse. I couldn't say anything. I just had to continue to play the role. And I think it was at that point that I lost something. I lost something. Everything that I thought we were doing to fight crime had a different message after that. It was a blow. That's the best I can do with that one.
Yeah, he's taking out free speech. Yeah, but this is the thing, cool dad. Free speech wasn't never real. That was a facade, man. We never had free speech in this country. Never had. No free speech, not freedom of press. Like, none of that shit was real, man. And I think now they just showing you that it wasn't ever real. Yeah, he killed himself. He ran out into the street. Tried to kill himself several times. He ran into the street, got hit by a car.
Did you ever think about the movement, the civil rights movement, what the Panthers was doing? Did you ever talk about that?
Yes, I did. But it came later for me. The movement came later. Well, you gotta understand, I was inside of the Black Panther Party looking out at the movement. Come in, no? Oh. Let's stop the camera a minute, please.
For real, NOLE.
Well, I always understood the movement from Martin Luther King's angle. In my view, he was the movement. The Panthers, their perspective was as black revolutionaries, black nationalists. They really didn't want this government. They wanted to overthrow this government. They wanted to embarrass this government.
Sounds familiar to me. Hold the fuck up. Hey, that sounds very familiar, y'all. They don't want this government. They want to overthrow this government. At the time, that was a threat to national security. I wonder what changed. I wonder why it's not a threat now. That's crazy.
They wanted to punch holes in the system. They wanted to investigate and illustrate its shortcomings. That was their purpose. They were a vanguard. At one point, the party members embraced Huey P. Newton's writings. It was a theory of revolutionary suicide. They felt like their job was to get out there and basically die to set an example. They were sacrificial lambs.
Sound like
for the people. That was
sound like the guy that tried to shoot Trump.
Position. It was a phase. They were not really in the mainstream civil rights movement, in my opinion.
Tell me what you thought about Fred Hampton as a human being.
I thought Fred Hampton was pretty idealistic. He was pretty dedicated to the black struggle. I felt like he gave a lot. He gave his life. And out of 16 months that I knew him, I don't have anything bad to say about him. I'm sorry that he died like he did. He was, in my opinion, he was murdered by the Chicago Police Department. And I feel bad about that. I felt like he was a person that died for what he believed in. Had he lived today, he probably would be a politician, a successful politician.
You said that you thought he might die after he got out of prison?
No, I think he felt after he got out of prison like he was a target unfairly. I think he felt like he was going to jail for 5 years and nobody else was. And all he had done was basically gave speaking engagements. So I think he felt used. I think there was always a friction, a little bit of jealousy between the price that the local chapters were paying and the splendor and the notoriety that the national leaders were getting, such as Eldridge Cleaver and Huey Newton and those guys. We felt like we were paying, the Panthers felt like they were paying a heavy price to be Panthers. And I think at one point Fred felt like he was a focal point of a national agency to get him. And they were going to get him one way or the other. And he felt pretty much taken out of the game with 5 years. I think he was resigned to go into prison. He was resigned to not being a Panther anymore.
Let me ask you about the Chicago Police and the FBI. Do you distinguish between the two?
I do. I definitely do. I definitely draw a distinction between the FBI and the Chicago Police. I have known quite a few FBI agents, and I've worked with them for the last 5 or 6 years, and they've never asked me to compromise my morals or my principles. Contrary to public belief, I haven't been instructed to commit crimes or provoke crimes or conduct burglaries or inject drugs in people or to commit murder. I haven't been. If anything, my association with the FBI made me a better person.
Damn. And why you kill yourself, bro? Hey, yo, he full of shit. If you really felt like or thought that you did something honorable and you ain't make a mistake, what you kill yourself for, my nigga? Wish I could ask him that shit. I wish we could wake his ass up for another day and ask him that question. What you kill yourself for then, sure?
Not only was I treated, I had been to Mitchell's home. I have held his child in my hands, in my arms when he was 1 year old. I have been through the offices of the FBI wearing sneakers and a dirty t-shirt with Mitchell. I rode around with him in his car during that time. 3 or 4 months after I became a Panther, I've eaten at his table, at his dinner table. We had at one point, he was a role model for me when I needed one. I mean, we had very few role models back then. We had Malcolm X. We had Martin Luther King. We had Muhammad Ali. And I had an FBI agent.
Chill, crazy.
Not anymore, no, not a policeman. No, I've never wanted to be a policeman. The FBI, I think, are much more efficient, much more effective organization than the policeman, yeah. Chicago police are one thing. The FBI is another. Yeah, I see a distinction.
Do you think there was a loss?
Was there a loss? Was there a loss? Yes. I think that the slaying of Fred Hampton was definitely a loss to black people in general. He would have made he was a fine leader then, and he would have made a better leader. He was only maturing then. I mean, he was 22 years old. And we tried to develop negative information to discredit him, just like we did everybody else. We, meaning the FBI, I tried to come up with signs of him doing drugs or something, and never could. He was clean. He was dedicated. I've had private conversations with him.
Yeah, dumbass.
We got along pretty well. For about 7 months, I was his personal bodyguard. He wouldn't go anywhere without me. And I know Fred Hampton better than anybody, to tell you the truth. He was dedicated. That's all I can say to it.
So roll out. Market, please. Do you think of yourself as a hero for what you did?
Oh, absolutely not. I'm not a hero. No, I don't think of myself as a hero for what I've done, but at the same time, I don't feel ashamed. It was my role during that time. There were a lot of different roles, a lot of different positions. There were actually a lot of blacks fighting in Vietnam that felt like they should have been there and was proud to be there, fight for the country. I felt like there was a war here in the street, and I was recruited early, and I joined sides early, and I didn't straddle the fence. I gave it all I could, as long as I could. And then when I felt like I couldn't give anymore, I left. I excused myself.
For real.
Do I feel like I betrayed someone? Absolutely not. I had no allegiance to the Panthers. I didn't even know what they were about when I joined. I joined at the instigation of the FBI, who I had scant knowledge of. So, no, I don't feel like I betrayed anybody. I don't feel like I'm a hero. Am I proud? I'm proud of some of the things that I done.
Still struggling to take accountability.
There were certain things that we done that prevented a lot of violence. There could have been more shootouts between the gang members. Every now and then, a suspected informant inside the Black Panther Party would be unearthed or detected, and we passed on information to get that informant out of the game. And so we avoided some violence there.
Super chat. I don't think they got stickers no more.
I
do you think members of the black community at that period would have perceived what you were doing?
Well, those members of the Black Panther Party, those members of the community that weren't informants, I'm sure that they would understand, but there was quite a few informants back then. Quite a few. I mean, what am I supposed to do, feel guilty right now about it? I didn't feel guilty then. I was hurt because Fred Hampton died. I was hurt because a lot of other people died in the Panthers. There were a lot of Panthers that died in Chicago, got killed needlessly and senselessly. At this point, I question the whole purpose of the Black Panther Party. It got a lot of people hurt, and they did very little else. I mean, if you associate the Black Panther Party with the civil rights movement, that's a mistake. In my thinking, they were necessary. It was a shock treatment for white America to see black men running around with guns, just like black men that saw white men running around with guns. Yeah, that was a shock treatment. It was good in that extent, but it got a lot of black people hurt.
What's up, Shab?
Was it personal cost during that period in terms of relationships with Alden or with friends?
No, because the party was, the Black Panthers were communistic, and basically everything we had was within the party. When I joined the Black Panther Party, I developed friendships. I developed new friends within the party. I was closely aligned with what they were doing. It was only certain individuals that were of any interest to the FBI. The FBI never asked me about the Breakfast for Children program. They never asked me about the free medical program. They never said anything other than ridicule the Black Panther newspaper. They never questioned their right to have firearms. They were only interested in Panthers that were doing other things. Panthers aligned to SDS and the Weatherman back then. Panthers that were smuggling guns into the city. Every now and then I'd pick up a locker full of composition C4. And the FBI was interested in tracking that type of weapon, you know, to find out where it was destined to. You know, they were only interested in basically the communications we had with other militant divisions, splinter groups outside of the city. They never asked me about free clothes for children and stuff like that. I bet the fuck they didn't.
Stupid ass.
Any hard evidence the Panthers were involved in the coalition with SDS?
Well, the Panthers had a public coalition with SDS, but the the Weather Underground was a different ball game. But then I knew Bernardine Doran and those people before they became weathermen, when they was just SDSers. And I knew the relationships we had then. And the relationships were pretty tight. There was always, there was no hard proof. But who needed proof? I didn't need it. FBI didn't need it.
What would you tell your son? What would you do?
I think I'll let your documentary put a cap on that story.
Yeah, so what did you tell your son? This son would be bad. My father told me some shit like that. I'd be like, yo, this nigga's a bitch. I can't believe he birthed me. I need to fuck away from his ass. Fuck around, tell on me.
I don't know what I'd tell him other than I was part of the struggle. That's the bottom line. I wasn't one of those armchair revolutionaries. One of those people that want to sit back now and judge the actions or inactions of people when they sit back on the sideline and did nothing. At least I had a point of view. I was dedicated, and then I had the courage to get out there and put it on the line, and I did. I think I'll let history speak for me.
Basically.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, he lied to his son.
No. We wasn't worried about the Chicago police raiding us. Like I said, we had guns. They knew we had guns. We'd had guns ever since we were there in the office. And nobody expected Chicago police just to blatantly come up in there. And sure, if we were to shoot out the window or something, or somebody run up in there and they're in hot pursuit, yeah. But we didn't expect the police department to come at 4 o'clock in the morning and raid the apartment. I mean, they knew guns were there. Hampton was out on appeal. And I think they were suspecting that he would probably try to flee the state or something. So they had cars on him constantly. I mean, he was tailed constantly. But like I said, it was a game. It was a game we were playing. The leather jackets, the beret, the military format, the guns, it was all to impress the people, really. We never intended to take on the police department to overthrow the government. The Black Panthers wasn't all about that. It was rhetoric. It was, like I said, it was shock treatment for white America. Well, I knew that it was kind of serious. If the game turned into reality when I saw Fred Hampton's body. Yeah. When I walked through that house, and saw those bullet holes and that blood laying on his mattress. Yeah, it hit home then. I knew we were in the real world, and that there were people out there that was going to kill us. That was the bottom line. It was real. But before that time, it was, we used to walk around packed. I mean, I carried 2 guns every day for 7, 8 months. We used to walk in the University of Illinois Circle campus, man, on the speaking engagement.
He ain't the only
at 2
one.
o'clock.
He ain't the only one. I'm just saying, yo, where's this? Where's this type of motherfucking treatment for these white nationalist groups? Look at this fuck boy. Hold on. They came after all these groups, man. Came after all these groups. Fuck this ass up. Watts Writers Workshop burnt down. What the fuck? Raiders. Hold on, man. You another fuck boy.
Begin a career that is
It's fucking disgusting, man. I just don't understand why people don't have that same. Oh, this ain't it. This ain't it. Where the fuck the interview with this clown ass nigga at?
As far back as the 1920s, when he began as FBI director, Hoover had gone after persons like Marcus Garvey. Garvey's organization, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, had a membership numbering in the millions, and somehow Hoover found this threatening and worthy of surveillance and undermining attempts. Garvey's influence had been international and had drawn world attention to America's treatment of black people. Paul Robeson was another who was viewed by Hoover as an enemy. This reporter has personally examined thousands of FBI, CIA, and other U.S. government agency documents that were kept on Paul Robeson. Robeson, like Garvey, had an international audience at his command, and he used that platform to denounce
This
racism.
goes into everything I'm saying. Freedom of speech. It ain't about what you say, yo. It's about the support you gather. Once you gather the support of millions, yo, you got to watch what you say. And this is how it always been. Now you double this back to Charlie Kirk. And for the people that support him, for people that was shocked, it's like, yo, if you known this, you wouldn't have been shocked at all, man.
in the United States.
Most important, however, were the questions raised by the State Department as to my political opinion. Here's a question of whether one who wants to sing and act can have, as a citizen, political opinion. And in attacking me, they suggested that when I was abroad, I spoke out against injustices to the Negro people in the United States. I certainly did. And the Supreme Court Justice just ruled, Judge Warren, in the segregation cases, that world opinion had a lot to do with that ruling, that our children, Negro children, can go to school like anybody else in the South. I'm very proud to have been a part of directing world opinion to precisely that condition. The second, that I fight for the independence of the colonial peoples of Africa. Bandung, the colored peoples of the world assembled, made it clear that nobody is going to tell them what to do. They're going to have the independence. I'm proud of that.
When the 60s came, many factions of the civil rights movement had developed the same international perspective.
Those of us living in the United States who see ourselves as, and who are in fact,
session. And what I understood that answer to be is, first of all, it was not any suspicions of the commission of a federal crime. None of the literature showed up a single suggestion that
Elijah Muhammad, accusations that he had made about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
9 teenage women and seduce them and give them babies and not tell me you're
So
and then tell me you're moral. You could do it if you.
The Black Panther Party did not have any white members. Okay? And
looking for this fucking boy
we
right here.
relied upon
This I'm looking for.
You would meet the agent there, and usually it would be in a vehicle known as Othello.
How were you paid?
The pay was always in cash. Cash, and you would sign a card. It would go like this. A rendezvous or a drop-off point would be picked out either by yourself or the agent. You would meet the agent there. Usually it would be in a vehicle. You get in the vehicle, he would hand you the money. He would tell you first to count the money. He would tell you the amount while you counted it. If the amount was there, he would then bring out a card. On that card would be for the week of such and such. In other words, the week was dated. So-and-so has been paid the amount of. Then you would sign the card, and then the agent would sign the card. The reason for this is that if all of a sudden the IRS became very interested about where you were getting all this extra money from, you could always tell them to go back to the Bureau, and the Bureau would have your cards on file.
I see. Were there such things as bonuses?
Oh, yes.
What were they paid for?
Bonuses were paid for, suppose while you were meeting with, or you were at a meeting with Bobby Seals, Chulai of the Red Army happened to come to the meeting too, which is something which would be a new development. That's bonus time.
In other words, a hot piece of information.
Hot piece, very hot piece.
Did you ever suffer pangs of conscience?
Quite a few times. Quite a few times. I still suffer pangs of conscience. I suffer from the fact that a lot of people trusted me, and I misused that trust. I suffer from the fact that a lot of information that I gave out was the undoing of certain groups or certain people. I suffer from the fact that I'm on the run constantly. I have no real life to speak of.
You have no family life, really? You have a wife?
No, I don't have a wife. I do have a child. I can't see her that often. I have to stay away from them because once I come around, the Bureau shows up and harassment starts. I have very few close personal friends, no one to really confide in.
Bet you don't, bitch.
It's,
I wouldn't trust your ass either.
It's like being on the outside of a glass jar and everything is happening inside the jar, but you're on the outside. You can see it happening, but you can't participate.
Why have you decided to talk to me?
For the simple reason, I think this information should be getting out, should be put out to the public. I think not only black people, but everyone should become aware of what your so-called law enforcement agencies do to so-called enforce the law. Because between you, myself, and the audience, I've seen more felons in law enforcement than I have in prison.
Many would say, well, look, you yourself just got through saying that the DLA was involved in criminal activity. What's wrong with wanting to put them in prison? How would you answer them?
I would answer them in this way. First off, we have to understand why they did what they did. But I'm not even going to go off into that psychological hoo-ha. What I'm going to say is when you become just as bad as the people that you go after, then there's nothing gained and a whole lot lost.
You also were active in the infiltration of many cultural groups. Before we go into that step by step, how much research and study did the FBI engage in of black culture in the late 60s?
A great amount.
Give me an idea.
From the thing is, I can. They have a file on every type of magazine that blacks read. They have a file on the music, dance, theater, actors, comedians, you name it, man.
And they would actually study these different...
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely.
What would they do with music?
To understand the people, you have to understand the culture. To infiltrate, you have to understand. You had a lot of so-called white liberals that were infiltrating the so-called black groups using the information that they had gathered from the studies of blacks.
You mean just to understand the behavior pattern of our people?
Oh, yeah, I can, Will Heaton could name out some jams of Miles Davis that I hadn't even heard of. He could name off some books that I hadn't even read pertaining to black culture.
Did you ever see agents actually studying
the
music of...
Yes, I've seen them going over even video portion of cultural events. The understanding, like when, you have an organization like Leroy Jones' Black House. You remember that? Okay, Leroy Jones's place, which was done on the thing of tribalism. That's where I first heard the word Kintu, Mantu, Hantu, Hentu. These words of the African continuum. I learned that from an agent. He ran it down to me. They make in-depth studies of the personalities of the people they're dealing with too, culturally. It always helps. It's a thing of you can take their culture and use it against them.
How large would you say an extensive collection on our culture would you say the FBI has? Would you rate it as large as a particular library, like the Schomburg Library in Harlem? Or...
I would rate it better. And the fact is that they go into details that we probably would overlook. Will Heaton used to meet me in different places, Will Heaton, that was one of my supervising agents. There is a certain bar in the Los Angeles area where people into black cultural things met, and Will Heaton used to meet me there. And he would go into very long and tiring conversations with some very articulate brothers about culture, African culture, and Afro-American culture.
Tell me about some of the cultural organizations that you infiltrated and what you did.
PASWA, Mafunde, Watts Writers Workshop, which they had...
The Watts Writers Workshop?
Yes. Watts Writers Workshop, which was one of the oldest established black writers' workshop.
That place was burned down?
Yeah. The Bureau had it burned down.
How do you know that?
I know because I participated. I did the arson.
They burned down a fucking workshop,
yes.
Man.
Why did they want it to go?
At the time, funding had been cut to the workshop, had been cut out, but it looked like there was a possibility of a grant being given back to the workshop. And if there was no theater, there would be no grant.
How did you do it?
2 cans of kerosene, a Purex bottle, gasoline, and a flare, highway flare.
Why didn't you use more sophisticated stuff?
Oh, no. You're never overly sophisticated. It's too obvious. This way you make it look like, maybe somebody in the neighborhood that got kicked out of the theater at one time, got mad and came and burned the damn theater up, that kind of thing.
But you were involved in this affair? I mean, did it get to you at all?
Hey, man, that got to me a great deal. I love that theater. I built the stage.
You built the stage?
Oh, yeah.
When
I got to the workshop,
piece of shit.
The stage that had been, the original stage that had been built needed an extension on it. The original part of the stage was in terrible condition. They had no lighting system. I put the lighting system in myself. I put the stage in myself. And that was a stage, man. And that was a theater. It's a nice theater.
Who was the director of that workshop?
Harry Dolan.
Harry Dolan. Some very, very well-known artists supported that workshop. It ran to it.
Some very well-known artists came out of the Watts Writers Workshop. Glenn Tubman, Yapakoto. Sidney Poitier used to come down there and give a class. Sammy Davis Jr. used to come down there all the time. Quincy Jones used to come there and give music classes. We had our own 8-track studio setup for sound. We had our own sound room there.
Yo, that shit is just crazy, yo. Like, yo, damn, yo. This shit be fucked up, yo. I'm just saying, why are they not having the same energy? Like, yo, that workshop could have probably made some differences in that community. All them people coming down there and giving hope to the hopeless. And this bitch ass nigga burnt it down on direction of the FBI. But now we got white nationals running around and they ain't doing nothing about it. That's crazy.
Responsibilities to study the profiles of celebrities who were supportive of organizations.
Definitely, and especially, like I said, psychological backgrounds, weaknesses and strengths. Did he have a weakness for blondes? Did he have a weakness for money? Did he snort cocaine? Did he smoke marijuana? They even get into, and that's one thing the Bureau loves is their sexual background. They have files and files on different blacks, not only celebrities, but a lot of others, sexual activity.
What would they do with this information?
Oh, that's used as a weakness.
So they would feed these weaknesses?
Yes.
Did you see that happen?
Oh, yes. Doc Holliday, who is one of the leaders of the BGF, Black Gorilla Family, which is a prison gang in the California state prison system. Upon his release from prison, a certain sister made herself known to him at a nightclub, whereupon he moved in with her, and she picked up names, telephone numbers, information, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they sick the female on them, yo.
That lasted for a good 3.5 months.
That's like some street shit to me. Yo, they put a broad on them. I told y'all, man, the streets emulate politics, man. Yo, the FBI put a broad on Doc Holliday to infiltrate and gain intel. That's crazy. I must have missed that last time I watched this.
So is this an unusual thing, or did this happen all the time?
No, that happens all the time.
Did you yourself get involved in doing that?
Yes.
Give me an example.
There was a gentleman that was on trial in Los Angeles that belonged to the BLA that had been busted in a southern state for a bank robbery, but was brought with 2 other people to Los Angeles to stand trial for the machine gunning of a police officer in Los Angeles. I was supposed to worm my way into the affections of his sister and whatever it took to get the information that I needed as far as what kind of defense they planned to use as to turn this information over to the federal prosecution.
Did you do it?
I got the information, and thank God I didn't have to go through with the actual thing of sexual activity.
What do you mean, thank God?
The sister was rather unappealing.
How did you justify to the organizations in which you had infiltrated yourself that you were living on an $800 a week stipend or on an $800 a week standard of living when most of them were living hand to mouth?
Well, hey, brother, hustling, I mean, hey, man, so a little this on the side, a little that on the side, I get over, that kind of thing. In other words, ain't nobody's business but mine. So, everybody took it for granted that I was possibly doing a little dealing on the side, that kind of thing. Then also, everybody liked me for the simple reason that I would do things that I didn't have to do. I would go out of my way. Like Mafunde would have a pageant and they needed someone to do the sound setup for him, and I'd say, of course I'll do it for you, that kind of thing. I was very well liked at one time in the community.
Would you say to American citizens that this situation of surveillance and infiltration continues to this day?
Oh, yes.
On the dimension that you experienced?
Probably much larger by now.
Larger?
Oh, yeah. Let me put it to you like this. Each year, everything gradually escalated up more and more. So I figured when I left, it didn't stop escalating. As they say, one monkey does not stop anybody's show.
You mentioned Sammy Davis Jr., who at one time, it was reported, gave money to the Black Panther Party, I believe. Were you ever assigned to look into that?
Yes, I was told to try to get as close to Mr. Davis or to anyone in his office as I could. I used to go up and have real chit-chat, chummy conversations with his personal secretary, Ann, at the 9000 building on Sunset. And I used to bring a quarter-pack video camera, and I used to go around and I would videotape the whole office.
You mean celebrities would be coming into his office and you'd film them freely?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't they question that?
I'm from the Rights Writers Workshop. Yeah, right on, brother. You know, that kind of thing. No questions asked.
He's a bitch. I'm about sick of these niggas. I'm done with y'all. That shit is disgusting work, man. Y'all is disgusting work. All I'm saying is, man, they need to divert this same energy and resources to these white nationalist groups. But they are a real problem. Real problem. Shooting up schools, doing all type of shit. Political motivated violence. Innocent people being murdered. Man, niggas crazy. Yo, but shit, I appreciate everybody that tapped in, man. We've been live about 3 hours now. Make sure I hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share the live. It's another day of QG News.